Chapter 1130, Potato? Observing Tao Tao's expression, Xianxia could easily tell what she was thinking, and it brought a warm smile to her face. Being trusted and anticipated felt wonderful. Aside from the fruits, Xianxia also brought back many potatoes. Thanks to her attentive care, both the potatoes planted in the backyard of the capital and those growing in the space were flourishing. The potatoes in the capital had already been dug before their return. The harvest was bountiful, with more than 10 plants yielding over 30 to 40 potatoes each, all bigger than a fist. Xianxia wasn't the only one delighted. Liqiu and the others who helped with the digging were equally joyous. Xiaoyunduan found it hard to believe. He stood there in awe, staring at the pile of potatoes before him. Among the various crops they grew at home, peanuts, soybeans, corn and taros, none compared to the impressive productivity of the potatoes. Initially, Xiaoxia referred to them as yams, but the name got out and she subsequently explained that their shape was more like enlarged beans that grew deep in the soil at 5,000 meters, making the name, potatoes, more suitable. No crop could rival the productivity of potatoes. They had planted dozens of potato plants in the backyard and managed to harvest 2 baskets full of them. The potatoes were plump and filling, resembling yams in shape, but their yield surpassed yams by a considerable margin, making them quite rare. In the evening, Xiaoxia prepared a variety of potato dishes. She made stewed beef with potatoes, fried potato slices, hot and sour shredded potatoes, and even a few small potato pancakes. Xiaoyunduan found them all incredibly delicious. Potato slices and shredded potatoes could be used in cooking, while potato cakes could serve as a food source. Even though they might not fully replace other food items, they could easily supplement meals during times of scarcity. Though not as versatile as corn, the potato yield far exceeded that of corn. It had been a long time since Xiaoxia last tasted potatoes, especially her favorite hot and sour shredded potatoes. She proudly boasted to Xiaoyunduan about the culinary delights she prepared using potatoes. Xiaoyunduan smiled and praised Xiaoxia for her ingenuity. He emphasized the need to keep the discovery of potatoes a secret, cautioning her not to let anyone, especially the young master of the prefecture lord's mansion, taste them. Xiaoyunduan explained to Xiaoxia in detail that potatoes were a valuable new crop with the potential for large-scale cultivation, which could greatly benefit the people if it were promoted. However, he also stressed the importance of being cautious about it. Specifically, he warned her not to mention it to Lord Omping Manor. The manor had distanced itself from worldly affairs, and getting involved with the court could lead to complications. If the prefecture lord got wind of the potatoes, he might report it to the emperor, dragging Lord Omping Manor into unnecessary trouble. Xiaoxia understood the gravity of the situation and nodded in agreement. She assured Xiaoyunduan that she would be discreet about the potatoes. She reminded him that the bountiful harvest was a result of her careful attention to the potatoes in their own backyard. If they were widely promoted, the yield might not be as plentiful. Xiaoyunduan replied with a smile, saying that even if a dozen fruits were produced, it would be more than enough. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1131, Seeds? Xiaoyunduan understood his wife's intention. They should keep the potato discovery low-key and avoid raising people's expectations too much to avoid potential misunderstandings. They decided to save the harvested potatoes for seeds and only occasionally stir-fried one to satisfy their craving. In reality, Xiaoxia had much more in her space, twice the quantity outside. She began planting them again and planned to bring some back for her family. While visiting the floral fields and orchards, Xiaoxia generously gifted Ms. Fong and others 15 kilograms of potatoes. She explained that they were excellent for planting next year and emphasized their versatility, as they could be used as both a dish and a rice substitute. The simplest cooking methods were roasting in the stove or steaming in a pot. In times of famine they could be life-saving. Moreover, potatoes were highly durable and could be stored for a long time. However, she cautioned that the storage area should be dry to prevent them from germinating, as green sprouts on potatoes could be poisonous and should not be consumed. Xiaoxia's ability to provide such a substantial quantity of potatoes made her unassuming to Lixia and Liqiu, so she wasn't worried about raising suspicions. After spending a day in the dormitory, she casually sent the 2 girls away, and upon their return they accidentally discovered the 2 bags of potatoes their mistress had brought. The 2 girls did not suspect that their lady was lying. They were just impressed by their lattice luck. After all, there was no need to deceive them, so Xiaoxia confidently brought out the potatoes in front of Ms. Fong and the others, and they found it to be entirely reasonable. Miss Fang trusted Xianxia's words just as she did with the cassavas. She carefully stored the potatoes and decided to plant half of them in the yard and the other half in the cassava field. The undeniable evidence of the potatoes' potential came during dinner when Xianxia prepared several dishes using potatoes, in addition to her other signature dishes. She served sour and spicy shredded potatoes, braised pork ribs with potatoes and shredded potato pancakes. Xianxia urged Miss Fang and the others to taste them, eager to showcase the delicious possibilities of this newfound crop. The first section of the family of the Xiao family had always believed in her cooking skills, and they had been waiting for that to happen. When the potato dishes were eaten, they all ignited the taste buds. They were either sour, spicy, crispy, soft, powdery, glutinous, or crispy and delicious. Everyone praised them. The potatoes are so tasty. Fifth sister-in-law is right. We are going to plant them well next year. Potatoes can be used to make food and fill the stomach. They are so good. Yes, it is a good thing. Xianxia was delighted to see their positive response. She beamed and said, "Indeed, they are easy to plant. We can simply plant them and remove the weeds. We don't need elaborate setups, but we should set aside some for the villagers next year." Miss Fang agreed, saying, "Absolutely. In times of hardship, having potatoes can be a lifesaver." The potatoes needed to be preserved for seeds, so after the meal, Miss Fang refrained from using any more and decided to save them for the spring planting season. On the following day, Xianxia, accompanied by Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang, visited the Jianghu village. She thoroughly inspected the tea field and the creeping fig field, utilizing her superpower to ensure everything was in good condition. Her satisfaction with the well-behaved tenants and the families they bought put her at ease. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1131, Seeds? Xiao Yunduan understood his wife's intention. They should keep the potato discovery low-key and avoid raising people's expectations too much to avoid potential misunderstandings. They decided to save the harvested potatoes for seeds and only occasionally stir-fried one to satisfy their craving. In reality, Xianxia had much more in her space, twice the quantity outside. She began planting them again and planned to bring some back for her family. While visiting the floral fields and orchards, Xianxia generously gifted Miss Fang and others 15 kilograms of potatoes. She explained that they were excellent for planting next year and emphasized their versatility, as they could be used as both a dish and a rice substitute. The simplest cooking methods were roasting in the stove or steaming in a pot. In times of famine, they could be life-saving. Moreover, potatoes were highly durable and could be stored for a long time. However, she cautioned that the storage area should be dry to prevent them from germinating, as green sprouts on potatoes could be poisonous and should not be consumed. Xianxia's ability to provide such a substantial quantity of potatoes made her unassuming to Lixia and Liqiu, so she wasn't worried about raising suspicions. After spending a day in the dormitory, she casually sent the two girls away, and upon their return they accidentally discovered the 2 bags of potatoes their mistress had brought. The 2 girls did not suspect that their lady was lying. They were just impressed by their lattice luck. After all, there was no need to deceive them, so Xianxia confidently brought out the potatoes in front of Miss Fang and the others, and they found it to be entirely reasonable. Miss Fang trusted Xianxia's words just as she did with the cassavas. She carefully stored the potatoes and decided to plant half of them in the yard and the other half in the cassava field. The undeniable evidence of the potatoes' potential came during dinner when Xianxia prepared several dishes using potatoes, in addition to her other signature dishes. She served sour and spicy shredded potatoes, braised pork ribs with potatoes and shredded potato pancakes. Xianxia urged Miss Fang and the others to taste them, eager to showcase the delicious possibilities of this newfound crop. The first section of the family of the Xiao family had always believed in her cooking skills, and they had been waiting for that to happen. When the potato dishes were eaten, they all ignited the taste buds. They were either sour, spicy, crispy, soft, powdery, glutinous, or crispy and delicious. Everyone praised them. The potatoes are so tasty. Fifth sister-in-law is right. We are going to plant them well next year. Potatoes can be used to make food and fill the stomach. They are so good. Yes, it is a good thing. Xianxia was delighted to see their positive response. She beamed and said, "Indeed, they are easy to plant. We can simply plant them and remove the weeds. We don't need elaborate setups, but we should set aside some for the villagers next year." Miss Fang agreed, saying, "Absolutely. In times of hardship, having potatoes can be a lifesaver. The potatoes needed to be preserved for seeds, so after the meal, Miss Fang refrained from using any more and decided to save them for the spring planting season. On the following day, Xiao Xian, accompanied by Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang, visited the Jianghu village. She thoroughly inspected the tea field and the creeping fig field, utilizing her superpower to ensure everything was in good condition. Her satisfaction with the well-behaved tenants and the families they bought put her at ease. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1133, The Ding Family? When Ms. Zhou faced bullying at her mother-in-law's home, Aunt Zhou never entertained the idea of divorcing her. Instead, she advised Ms. Zhou to endure the situation for at least a dozen years, speaking kindly to fifth Grandma Ding. However, everything changed when Ms. Zhou and Ding Erju severed ties with the Ding family, leading to the tragic death of their granddaughter. This incident was the breaking point for the Zhou family, and they decided to support their daughter and son-in-law, launching a strong retaliation against the Ding family. The once cordial relationship between the two families turned into deep-seated enmity. As time passed, Ms. Zhou's daughter and son-in-law improved their living conditions, but the Ding family still sought to take advantage of them. This further fueled Ms. Zhou's animosity towards the Dings, as she believed they were responsible for her daughter's death. They were no longer considered relatives but bitter enemies, each wanting to harm the other. Fortunately, the villagers from Jianghu village stepped in to support Ding Erju and his wife, standing up against the unreasonable actions of the Ding family. They helped them in various ways, including working in the tea fields and creeping fig fields to earn money. Even with the assistance from Xiaoding village during busy times, more laborers were still needed due to the expansion of the tea fields and the growing demand for labor in the workshop, which translated to more income. What could the Ding family offer them? Heavens, they left their own son with nothing. The depth of their hatred is unimaginable. How dare you show up at our doorstep with nothing to your name? Your family's actions are despicable. It's no surprise that their actions bring nothing but harm. After all, no one can fathom forcing their own granddaughter to death. You drove your own granddaughter to her death and left your son with nothing. How audacious of you to accuse me of being unfilial. Your cruelty knows no bounds. That's right. Shame on you. Good things happen to good people. Just look at second brother Ding and sister-in-law. They now lead a happy life and anyone would be inspired by them. True. Fifth Grandma Ding and the others were seething with anger, embarrassment, and annoyance. She glared at Ding Erju, ready to scratch him, and accused him of being unfilial for allowing outsiders to bully his parents. However, before she could get close, someone intervened and stopped her. What do you think you're doing? You think you can assault people in our village? Try it. Fifth Grandma Ding shouted in frustration, That's my son. I have every right to teach him a lesson, and it's none of your business. An auntie retorted with a smile, Oh, now he's your son? Weren't you just claiming he was nothing to you when you had nothing to offer him? The villagers burst into laughter. The Ding family got nothing and were driven away, but they couldn't let it go. They returned to Xiaoding village, where fifth Grandma Ding and fifth Grandpa Ding confronted Miss Fang and eldest uncle, along with their two sons and daughters-in-law. Xiao Yunduan, being a respected figure and an officer, kept them from venting their anger. Otherwise, fifth Grandma Ding would have engaged in an argument with Miss Fang long ago. She struggled to remain reasonable amidst her fury. However, Miss Fang brushed off her words, pointing out that Ding Erju was driven out of the family with nothing, and the relationship was already broken off. In her opinion, there was nothing to discuss, and the matter could be addressed when Ding Erju and his wife returned. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1134, Block. Fifth Grandma Ding and her family were incredibly frustrated, but they refrained from causing a scene in the Xiao family's first section. Instead, they resorted to intermittent harassment, trying to exert force, but their attempts failed. They cried and pleaded, insisting that they were still family, and their past actions were merely outbursts of anger and should be disregarded. They even suggested that Ding Erju should join forces with his two brothers to manage things together, hoping for reconciliation. Ding Erju and Ms. Zhou became increasingly exasperated with these antics. The most absurd part was when fifth Grandma Ding accused Ding Erju of being naive and easily manipulated, claiming that he had been set up and taken advantage of. Fed up with the situation, Ding Erju had no choice but to seek help from the land officer and senior clan members in Xiaoding village. Land officer sought Ms. Fang's opinion, but she distanced herself, stating that she had no involvement with them. Land officer then warned 5th Grandpa Ding and 5th Grandma Ding that any further humiliation would not be tolerated. In an era when the power of the clan surpassed that of the law, everyone feared such consequences. Both angry and fearful, 5th Grandpa Ding and his family ceased their actions. Meanwhile, Xiao Xian, who had just returned, was unaware of the situation. During her visit to Jianghu village to inspect the properties, Ding Erju carefully chose what to share with her, avoiding any private matters. Satisfied with her visit, Xiao Xian gathered fresh lotus roots, fish and shrimps and returned to the village. The tea field had expanded to an impressive 600 mu and was flourishing. She anticipated opening another 200 or 300 mu next year, envisioning the scale reaching 1,500 mu, with potential for further expansion in the future. Collecting tea tree seedlings required a trip into the mountains to gather tea seeds. They planned to spend a couple of days in the mountains, and upon their return Xiao Dalong and others would take care of the seeds. Once the weather became slightly warmer after the new year, they could begin the breeding process. Xiao Xian intended to apply her superpower to the seeds over a range of 500 meters, hoping it would yield positive results. She planned to visit again in the spring. Additionally, they could transplant some tea tree seedlings from the mountains and cultivate tea seeds in the space, which would offer greater convenience in the future. During their journey, Xiao Xian shared the plan to pick tea seeds in the mountains with Yang Xiaoni and the others. However, Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang expressed hesitation, considering the absence of qi and the potential dangers of venturing into the deep mountains. They felt it was unnecessary for Xiao Xian as an officer's wife to take such risks. Xiao Xian was aware that she needed 3 escorts to accompany her for assurance during the trip. The 6 escorts were still residing at the Xiao family's place, and only the Yuezhing family servants had returned home. Xiao Xian didn't stay home for long, so she didn't make arrangements for them to go to the county city. As a result, they had plenty of free time, mostly tending to their own mounts. Yang Xiaoni and Xiao Sanlang were not afraid of Xiao Xian's expedition and even promised to keep her company. Later that evening, as they returned to the village, they excitedly discussed what to have for dinner, mentioning dishes like lotus root stewed with bones, sweet and sour pig trotters, and mountain mushroom stewed with chicken soup. Suddenly, their enthusiasm dimmed when they noticed 5th Grandma Ding intercepting the wagon with her daughters-in-law. Yang Xiaoni and Tao Tao's expressions changed, and Xiao Xian's eyes sparkled, as if she had anticipated something. With Ding Erju being the only link she could think of, she couldn't imagine any other reason why 5th Grandma Ding and her family would seek her out. As they were almost home, Xiao Xian alighted from the wagon wearing a smile and asked, "Are you here to talk about Uncle Erju and Aunt Zhou? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1135. No response? 5th Grandma Ding was startled. She nodded with a smile. Yes, Mrs. Xiao, my unfilial son. Didn't you drive them out of the family with nothing given to them? 5th Grandma Ding was startled. Yang Xiaoni responded with disdain, Exactly. She's living a good life now and you think you can just take her back? It's not that simple, Aunt. Spare us your words. Your family has caused so much trouble and you're still bothering Grandpa Land Officer? Our 5th sister-in-law knows the whole story, and your words won't make any difference. 5th Grandma Ding became furious, wanting to scold Yang Xiaoni, but she held back and forced a smile. 5th Mrs. Xiao, it didn't start this way. They were just angry words that were taken seriously. I thought they'd come back after venting their anger and staying away for a few days, but it turned out like this. I love my granddaughter too. She got so angry that she killed someone. It's not like I feel good about it. How can you blame me? I'm heartbroken. 5th Mrs. Xiao, you're a reasonable person. You should be the judge. Erju and his wife have gone too far. Xiao Xian smiled in response. Whether I said those words out of anger or not doesn't matter. What matters is that Ding Xiang is still alive. But without you, things wouldn't have ended up like this. You've had a good life these past 2 years, yet you never reached out to them. Why now? Yang Xiaoni sneered. Now that Erju and the others are being paid, things have changed. 5th Grandma Ding and her daughter-in-laws grew infuriated, their faces turning red, but they dared not confront her. The eldest daughter-in-law of the Ding family attempted to flatter Xiao Xian with a smile. 5th Mrs. Xiao, my husband is capable and intelligent. Why not let him take charge of Jianghu village? He'd do a much better job than Erju Pipe. No one would dare to slack off and he can handle everything for you. The third daughter-in-law chimed in, and my husband is very understanding, even more so than Erju. He can handle any situation. Fifth Grandma Ding turned to Xianxia expectantly. Yes, our sons may not be as clever as our brothers and our brothers may not be as clever as our sons. But if we let our sons take over, it would be a vast improvement over their current leadership. We wouldn't even ask for much payment, just 1 tael of silver per month. The 2 daughter-in-laws nodded eagerly saying, Yes, we aren't as greedy as those other people. The whole family seemed to agree that even 1 liang would suffice. They believed that being in charge of such a large tea field and numerous fertile lands, along with the ample money they possess, should be more than enough for them. With hundreds of mu of fertile fields and abundant harvests, they had enough rations to sustain themselves for a year. Moreover, there were plentiful fruit trees laden with fruits and a vast pond brimming with fish, shrimp and lotus roots, providing them with a variety of food options. On top of that, they could discreetly sell some tea leaves for additional income. The potential for making money was undeniable. Xiaoyunduan and Xiaoxian were far from the capital, and Xiaoding village was not located nearby either. However, with intelligence and resourcefulness, there was a great opportunity to accumulate wealth. Xiaoxian smiled with a hint of amusement and asked, So, you wish to take on this responsibility regardless of whether you accept Brother Erju or not? The 2 daughter-in-laws glanced at their mother-in-law but remained silent. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1136. No trouble? Hearing the suggestion, 5th Grandma Ding found it appealing. She clenched her teeth and said, My second son is heartless. Since he doesn't want us anymore, there's no point in trying to bring him back. It doesn't matter if we find him or not. Yang Xiaoni sneered, feeling a mix of bitterness and anger in her heart. She understood the situation all too well. Her brother and sister-in-law were just like 5th Grandma Ding. Xiao Sanlang comfortingly squeezed her hand. Startled, Tao Tao couldn't comprehend how a mother could be so heartless. Xiao Xian spoke calmly, You seem to be misunderstanding something. Why would I need to hire someone from your family specifically instead of others? 5th Grandma Ding and her daughter-in-law were taken aback. It's my business whom I hire. It has nothing to do with your family. You can go home now and drop this topic. 5th Grandma Ding was about to say something when Yang Xiaoni stepped forward to defend Xiao Xian, pushing her family away. 5th Grandma Ding glared at their retreating figures and returned home, feeling defeated. Xiao Xian felt a sense of satisfaction. They deserved it. During the time she helped Ding Erza's family, she had suppressed her anger, hoping for an opportunity to put 5th Grandma Ding's family in their place. However, she couldn't reveal her plans earlier, as it might complicate matters. But the situation had changed now. They couldn't afford to cause any trouble. Xiao Xian refused to believe that Ding Xiang was dead. In her heart, she held on to the belief that Ding Xiang might be toiling away somewhere, working hard. As long as she was alive, there would come a day when she returned. What was the point of not coming back for revenge once she became successful? When that day arrived, 5th Grandpa Ding and his family would be in deep trouble. They couldn't bear it anymore? Well, they had a long way to go. Back at home, Miss Fong overheard Tao Tao's account of the situation. How 5th Grandma Ding and her 2 daughter-in-laws tried to stop Xiao Xian. She grew agitated and expressed her disgust, saying, Just ignore them. They are a horrible family and have been causing trouble for far too long. Ding Erju had no choice but to seek help from the land officer and the senior members of the village. And now they're back at it again. Xiao Xian smiled and replied, They don't need me and I couldn't care less about them either. Miss Fong chuckled and agreed, Very true. Eldest uncle couldn't resist adding, They claim to leave Ding Erju with nothing, but he is still the Ding family's son. It's not good for their reputation to be so heartless. You and 5th brother could try to mend things, say a few good words and let bygones be bygones. After all, they are biological children. Xiao Xian rolled her eyes and chose not to respond. She had already composed herself, knowing that her father-in-law had a habit of being meddlesome, and it was best to ignore his comments. There was no point in arguing because it wouldn't change anything and she couldn't agree with him. Thankfully, her mother-in-law would handle him. True to form, Miss Fong sneered, Heartless? You caused your own granddaughter's death and you drove your own son out of the family with nothing. That's what I call heartless. How could you expect to be forgiven? Stop being so repulsive. Eldest uncle found himself at a loss for words. He was about to defend himself, but Miss Fang and Xianxia walked away. Pay no attention to the old man. He's been acting out of line for a long time. Miss Fang continued, you may not know this, but when news spread about the valuable fields and tea plantations in Jianghu village, the third section of the family made a big fuss. What a joke. They even wanted a share of it, and the second section of the family joined in as well. But when they realized there was no share for them, they decided to become managers. No one dares to appoint them, of course. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1137. Primus? Xianxia found herself just as puzzled as Miss Fang about the situation. After asking a few questions, she finally learned what was happening. Miss Fang then smiled and shared her mixed feelings. I am angry, but I am also glad to see that they are so jealous and envious of us. Her daughter-in-law Xianxia chuckled and replied with a smile, it's quite satisfying to think about, isn't it? Right? The mother and daughter-in-law laughed. Miss Fang sighed with a smile. Fortunately, the second section of the family has no connection with us, and Erlang and Xilang have their own daughter-in-law. Before we can do anything, they stopped Ms. Niu and her husband. Without helpers, the third section of the family can't do anything. But let me tell you, Miss Fang lowered her voice and said seriously, why do I feel that Lu Lang is behaving strangely? He has a dark look in his eyes and he looks so scary when he looks at people, as if we have a deep grudge against him. He wasn't like this before. I don't think we have done anything bad to his family. How did he end up like this? Xianxia was confused too. She thought for a while and smiled. Mom, just leave him alone. He can't do anything to us. We don't need to beg him. He can hate us if he wants to. Don't tell me that my husband is displeased because he became the Primus? That is possible. Miss Fang suddenly understood what was going on. She waved her hands and said disdainfully, he is just jealous. He can't tolerate anyone else being better than him. Otherwise he would get so annoyed. You are right, let's just ignore him. Xianxia nodded with a smile. She was not as assured as mother-in-law. Xiao Lulang might be up to something. But he was just a cultivated talent and he could not do anything. She just needed to watch out for him. Mother-in-law and Sanlang had always been afraid of him, and it would not be easy for him to set them up. By the time he became a recommended man and advanced scholar, her husband would have reached a very high level. Xianxia did not believe that Xiao Lulang was better than her husband. Early the following morning, Xianxia, Xiao Sanlang, Xiao Dalong, Yang Xiaoni, and Tao Tao went into the mountains with 3 escorts. That was enough. They all remembered the way to pick the tea seeds. They went straight to the destination after entering the mountains. It was the season when there were the most wild fruits and wild mountain mushrooms in the mountains. Wild fruits were no longer attractive to families. After all, there were many fruit trees in the garden at the back of the yard, and the fruits were large and sweet, and they could not be finished. But wild mountain mushrooms were still very attractive. All kinds of mushrooms in autumn were fresh and fat. When picked, they could be fried, made into soup, stir-fried with pork and chicken, stewed, or made into dumplings and steamed buns. They were all very fresh. But the tea seeds were more important, so they had to turn a blind eye to it. With the help of 3 escorts, the 2-day work was done in 1 day. Everyone had a lot of harvest and carried a few large bags of tea seeds home. Xianxia took the chance and put some advanced seedlings into the space as well as some tea seeds. The space was growing fast and she did not need to pick the tea leaves. She was going to keep them to bloom and bear fruits, and then take out the tea seeds to breed and expand. Tea was popular in the state and good tea leaves could be sold out very easily. Thousands of mu would not be too much. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1139. Unwillingness? Ms. Ma was so motivated that she could not help but complain to her son, Xiao Lulang. Lulang, you have to work hard. If you become the recommended man's Primus, you can marry a better daughter-in-law than Xianxia and earn more money than Xiao Yunduan. We can buy many fields and open a tea field too. I believe they are no better than us. What are you showing off for? Who cares? Xiao Lulang's face sank. He was invited to the first section of the family's dinner too, but he turned that down, stating that he was going to study. Xiao Lulang threw a cold look at his mother. It is still too early to tell what will happen in the future. Don't make a fuss at the first section of the family, what's the point? You know clearly what they are like. Then he left without waiting for her to say anything more. Ms. Ma was startled. She mumbled, "How can this child have such a bad temper? The first section of the family is so cruel, and he doesn't even let me say something." 2 days later, Xianxia checked through all the properties, and she was heading back to the capital the following day. The whole family was very reluctant to see her leave. Tao Tao was especially saddened. She wished that she could go into the capital with fifth sister-in-law, but she knew that was unrealistic. The girl wished fifth sister-in-law a safe trip and asked her when she was coming home. Hearing that she was coming back in the spring, she became very happy again. Miss Fang asked Xiao if she and Xiao Yunduan were doing well. "We don't have any concubines or sleepover maids. In my opinion, no matter how rich we are or how high-ranking we are, we should have a proper daughter-in-law and give birth to a few children. As a mother, I am always thinking about my own children. Children having the same father and different mothers always end up fighting each other. Yunduan is a good child, but he is now an officer and in a place like the capital. I can't guarantee anything in the future even if I am his mother. But let me tell him one thing, I don't want him to get concubines or mistresses. You are his wife but you can't do anything about it. Don't let him do anything stupid or I will never forgive him." Xiao smiled brightly when she heard what her mother-in-law said. "Thanks to Mom, I have a good reason to be in charge of this. But don't worry Mom, my husband just wants to be a good officer, and he doesn't care about that. He doesn't want this to happen just like you." Miss Fang smiled and nodded. That is good. Anyway, you need to worry about him outside. He doesn't have the intention to do so, and that doesn't mean that no one else does either. Don't be careless." Miss Fang sneered. "You won't believe it. The concubine of the Ding family, widow's son, has a daughter called Ding Qingqing. Do you remember that? Do you know who they are after? Your elder brother. They are trying to set him up. Luckily, I saw through it. Otherwise, your elder brother would have one more concubine by the time you came home." "What?" Xiaoxian's eyes widened. She just could not believe it. Miss Fang couldn't help but laugh seeing her reaction. "That is not strange. They are trying to set up Sanlang, but everyone in the village knows that Sanlang and Ms. Yang are in a good relationship, and Sanlang is smart too. He is not that easy to fool. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1141. Coincidence? It was because of this habit that they were lucky enough to avoid this disaster. Or if Ding Qingqing had really sneaked in, no matter what happened, it would be very difficult to explain. Ms. Chiu and Ms. Hao from the Ding family would definitely put pressure on them, and even the Ding family elders would show up. They could not afford to have a closer relationship with the first section of the Xiao family. Why not just give them a push? But when Xiao Dalong closed the door, Ding Qingqing couldn't even climb over the wall while widow's son was holding her daughter. The mother and daughter were both angry and anxious, but there was nothing they could do. Widow's son knew that opportunities like this were rare, and she wasn't sure when the next one would come. She gritted her teeth and decided to let Ding Qingqing wait there while she went back to the village to fetch a ladder. But the moment she asked Ding Qingqing to hide well, she looked up and met Miss Fang's eyes, who was holding her grandson. Widow's son, with a guilty conscience, got so frightened that her face changed. She patted her chest. Miss Fang was here at the right time. She suddenly remembered that 2 pumpkins were ripe in the field 500 meters away from the village. Xiao Qing had seen someone eating pumpkin rice, and she had to eat it even though she was wheedling. Miss Fang always cared about her grandchildren, and pumpkin rice was not a rare thing. If her granddaughter wanted to eat it, she had to satisfy her. So she thought of the pumpkins and came here with her grandson, intending to tell Xiao Dalong to fetch the pumpkin from the field. Unexpectedly, widow's son popped out from the other side of the wall. Miss Fang looked at her suspiciously. "What are you doing here?" There was no one in the wild land around them, except for the snow fungus shed around their yard wall. No one would come here. Miss Fang knew that widow's son was not a good person, but she did not think that she was trying to steal her snow fungus. That was so bold. There were no secrets in the village. Did she think that she could hide it from others? Widow's son felt guilty. She straightened her back subconsciously and said in an intermediate tone, "What? Is this your territory too? Why can't I be here?" Miss Fang snorted and said nothing more. Widow's son forced herself to walk away calmly, but she was complaining inwardly. Miss Fang might not have noticed her daughter, Ding Qingqing, at first. She knocked on the door and told Xiao Dalong about getting the pumpkin. Xiao Dalong checked the snow fungus and nodded. Then he locked the door and went to pick the pumpkins. Miss Fang had just finished peeing her 1-year-old grandson and was about to carry him home when Ding Qingqing, who had been so nervous, couldn't stand it anymore. She stuck her head out from behind the wall to see what was going on. Miss Fang saw what she was doing. She soon realized what was going on, but Miss Fang had already figured it out. It was not going to work if someone was sneaking around the shed. Miss Fang shouted, "Who is there?" She ran towards them with her grandson in her arms. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1142, Argument? Ding Qingqing got so frightened that she ran away. She was so shocked. If she ran into the wild, Miss Fang might not be able to catch up with her grandson in arms. Also, Miss Fang would not be able to see her if she hid behind any thick shrubs. But she ran into the village. Miss Fang had to rush up and catch her. Miss Fang could not tell who she was, but she was definitely going after her. She shouted as she ran, "Stop! Stop right there!" Ding Qingqing was very young and Miss Fang was very fierce. So when Miss Fang shouted at her, she got so frightened that she could not run anymore. Miss Fang caught up with her as soon as she reached the entrance of the village. Miss Fang grabbed her clothes with one hand and put her grandson on the ground with the other, tugging at Ding Qingqing. "It is you. What are you doing outside our shed? What are you and your mother doing there?" Ding Qingqing turned around guiltily, avoiding her eyes. She sobbed, I didn't. How dare you defend yourself?" Miss Fang sneered. "I caught you red-handed and you are lying? If you are not guilty, why are you running away? I am not going to eat you up." The two of them tugged at each other, and soon the villagers gathered around to watch the show. Widow Sun soon arrived as well. She would have dared to counter Miss Fang in the past, but not now. Everyone in the village trusted Miss Fang. She and Widow Sun could not deny that, so Widow Sun had to admit that she just wanted to steal some snow fungus. She was a thief. The onlookers all looked down at them and pointed at them. Ding Qingqing flushed in embarrassment as tears welled up in her eyes. She lowered her head and wished that she could dig a hole. Widow Sun also lowered her head and did not dare to lie. She knew that she would be despised by the villagers, and Miss Chiu and the Ding family would beat and scold her when she returned home. She might not even get to eat dinner tonight. But what else could she do? The mother and daughter could not have appeared at that place for some nonchalant, casual, or indifferent visit. They had to have a convincing reason, right? That was the only thing she could say. That was the only way to get Miss Fang away. Stimulated by this, Widow Sun made up her mind to get what she wanted. As long as her daughter was with Xiao Dalong would be an honest man, and Miss Su would not be as annoying as Yang Xiaoni. Also, Miss Su had 2 sons and 1 daughter, and she was not afraid of being threatened by her own daughter. Her daughter should not be bullied anymore. She needed to suck up to Miss Su so she could make it. That was better than Miss Chiu and Ms. Hao from the Ding family selling themselves out. Miss Fang snapped at Widow Sun when she admitted that. But she did not cause any damage, so Miss Fang gave her a warning. That was exactly what Widow Sun had expected. She let out a sigh of relief. But when Ms. Yen heard about this, she came to Ms. Fang the following day and told her about some suspicious things. Stealing snow fungus was not a very honorable thing, especially when the first section of the family was flourishing, and no one in the village would steal from them. Widow Sun was already living such a miserable life, so why did she take such a risk? If she was caught, her life would become even worse. Miss Chiu and the Ding family might not have explicitly asked her to steal it. If their involvement was exposed, they would be blamed by the first section of the family. So what were they after? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1143. No coincidence. The Ding family's Hao and Miss Chiu had rushed to apologize on behalf of Widow Sun the day before. Also, the wall surrounding the snow fungus shed was quite high. If Widow Sun planned to steal the snow fungus, she should have brought a ladder with her, right? What was most suspicious was that Widow Sun could have gone there alone, but instead, she brought her own daughter with her. Ding Qingqing had not even gotten married yet, so why involve her in such a risky act? If they were found out, Ding Qingqing's reputation and future prospects could be ruined. Miss Fang suddenly realized what might be going on. Yes, something was definitely not right. Widow Sun treated her daughter very well, and there seemed to be no reason for her to involve Ding Qingqing in stealing from the first section of the family, especially when Widow Sun did not hold high position in the village. Ms. Fang thanked Ms. Yen for her vigilance but still couldn't fully grasp the motive behind Widow Sun's actions. Then Ms. Fang overheard Xianxia talking with her son about not having a change of heart and not taking concubines when they were rich. Suddenly a thought struck her. Wasn't her eldest son in the snow fungus shed earlier? What a coincidence. Could it be that they were targeting her eldest son? Ms. Fang's suspicion grew and she couldn't afford to ignore it. She decided to remain vigilant and not let her guard down until she knew the truth. To investigate further, she asked Xiao Dalong to collect soybeans in the field alone and secretly followed Yang Xiaoni and Ding Qingqing. Sure enough, she caught the mother and daughter red-handed again. Ms. Fang didn't hold back and confronted them directly at the Ding family's home. She demanded an explanation for their suspicious behavior and questioned why they seemed to appear wherever her son was. She was determined to get to the bottom of this matter and find out their true intentions. The Ding family's Ms. Chiu and Ms. Hao understood Ms. Fang's implied threat very well. They kicked Widow Sun to the ground and berated her as shameless. Widow Sun, feeling a mix of anger, embarrassment and shame, covered her face and cried loudly. She accused Ms. Chiu and the Ding family of selling her daughter, claiming that she was forced into this situation. In a desperate attempt to shift the blame, she even tried to accuse Ms. Fang of setting her up, saying that Xiao Dalong mistreated her daughter. However, this tactic fell flat. If Xiao Dalong needed a concubine and what he only needed to do was to spread the news that the first section of the family was very popular, and many people would come to him for concubines. Or they could just spend money to buy them, and any heaven immortal beauties could be bought. They did not want Ding Qingqing to do such a thing in private. Even if she did, Widow Sun and the Ding family would not say that they did not like it. No one would believe Widow Sun's words. They would be laughed at. Ms. Chiu remained unyielding in the face of the onlooker's gaze. She firmly slapped Widow Sun's complaints and continued to sneer, "You are just a concubine and no respectable family would want you. What are you talking about? Finding a concubine for your daughter is flattering. Don't like it? If you don't like that, you can find your own mother-in-law's family." Widow Sun felt helpless and could not find any words to defend herself. She covered her face, overwhelmed with shame and sorrow, and tears streamed down her cheeks. As a widow and concubine, she realized she had used a humiliating method to achieve her goal, and it only made her situation worse. She knew deep down that she had little to offer in terms of status or dowries, making it incredibly challenging to find a good family willing to accept her daughter as a concubine. Widow Sun's heart sank with the realization that she had nothing to offer, and her desperate actions had only brought her further disgrace. The villagers who witnessed the scene couldn't help but feel a mix of sympathy and disapproval towards Ms. Chiu's harsh words. While they understood the struggles Widow Sun faced, they also recognized the truth in Ms. Chiu's assertions. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1144. Out of sight. The daughter of a concubine faced a daunting challenge due to her mother's unfavorable reputation. Finding a good family for her seemed like an improbable task. Although not Ms. Chiu's biological child, Ding Qingqing was brought into the Ding family by Widow Sun, who had previously offended her. Ms. Chiu was the stepdaughter of the Ding family, and she played a crucial role in determining Ding Qingqing's marriage. No one dared to question or oppose this arrangement. Ms. Chiu harbored strong resentment towards Ding Qingqing and her mother-in-law for their unruly behavior, which caused significant trouble for the entire family. Frustrated and unwilling to keep Ding Qingqing any longer, Ms. Chiu sought a solution through her in-laws' family and soon got married herself. Ms. Fang was well aware of the limited prospects for women born into concubinage and, despite her disdain for Ding Qingqing and her mother, she felt a karmic connection to her own family. Selling Ding Qingqing off would reflect poorly on her reputation, so she couldn't simply stand by and watch. To avoid any association with such actions, Ms. Chiu chose not to treat Ding Qingqing as a concubine but rather married her off to a distant, less fortunate man. She remained hidden from their sight, and whatever their future held would have no direct connection with her. After Ding Qingqing's departure, Widow Sun lost all hope and refrained from causing any further trouble. The senior members of the clan cautioned Ms. Chiu not to go too far, as any unfortunate event leading to a tarnished reputation could jeopardize the entire village's standing, especially with the progress made through Mr. Primus' efforts and the establishment of the school. The village had a Mr. Primus and the school was built and classes were starting. Everything was developing in a good direction, so reputation was very important. Ms. Chiu's treatment of Widow Sun was widely known, as she would boast about it openly, and some considered it excessive. It was evident that even a person as seemingly insensible as a clay figure might harbor resentment and retaliate if pushed to the extreme. Before becoming a concubine, Widow Sun was not an easy person to handle, and it was expected that she wouldn't remain in such a state indefinitely. Miss Chiu was not convinced, but she did not dare to do that anymore and tried to restrain herself. But Widow Sun was still not having a good life. As long as Miss Chiu did not cause too much trouble, the clan would turn a blind eye. Their family's bad debts could be settled behind closed doors. Ms. Fang informed Xianxia about the situation, reminding her to be cautious and not let Xiao Yunduan fall into a trap. Xianxia acknowledged Ms. Fang's advice and realized the gravity of the situation. She had already been concerned, but now she understood that she needed to be even more vigilant in the future. The capital was not a peaceful place and the risks were high. The next morning, Xianxia and her companions departed. Ms. Fang and the others reached the village's entrance without arousing anyone's suspicion. Xianxia waved at them from a distance, and as the wagon turned the corner she sighed inwardly, knowing the risks that lay ahead. Upon reaching the county city, Xianxia sent a gift to the county magistrate's wife, explaining that she couldn't visit due to time constraints and had to head directly to the province. She understood that the county magistrate had family responsibilities to attend to, and that was their priority. As a woman herself, she empathized with the county magistrate and his wife, comprehending why they couldn't pay her a visit given their obligations and circumstances. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1145. Friendly. If Xiao Yunduan were also present, they would need to extend an invitation to him for the banquet as well. The county magistrate would likely be displeased if he were excluded, even if he didn't voice it. They might fear that not inviting him could lead to unfavorable consequences in the future, perhaps with the Xiao family using this omission against them when they required assistance. As the evening approached early in the season, Xianxia and the others arrived in the province, and it was already dark. They made their way directly to the Yuezhing family. The entrance of the Yuezhing family was adorned with 2 rows of large lanterns, brightly illuminating the gate. Auntie Hua, accompanied by 2 maids, was standing next to First Madam, gazing into the distance. As she spotted the approaching wagon, she greeted them with a warm smile. "Fifth Mrs. Xiao, how much our madam has missed you. The evenings are growing colder, how was your journey?" Auntie Hua asked as she helped Xianxia down from the wagon. Xianxia replied with a smile, sensing Auntie Hua's concern. "Thank you for your kind words, elder aunt. The journey was smooth and I wouldn't dare to keep you waiting. Your thoughtfulness is truly appreciated." Auntie Hua smiled and humbly responded, "First Madam was eager for your arrival, so she sent me to greet you. I am not worthy of such a task. Please come inside. First Madam has already prepared dinner and eagerly awaits your company." Xianxia laughed cheerfully. As the sun sets, the cold becomes biting. The thought of the warm food prepared by Elder Aunt is truly heartening and invigorating. Auntie Hua chuckled in response, "That's exactly what First Madam said. On such days we should relish a good meal and warm soup. Everything is ready for you." As they strolled together, Auntie Hua found herself growing fonder of Xianxia with every passing moment. Coming from humble beginnings, both Auntie Hua and Xiao Yunduan had not been born into prosperous families, which compelled her to be respectful and courteous towards Xianxia. However, she couldn't help but notice that Xiaoxian's demeanor hadn't changed despite her husband's impressive position as a young and learned officer with a promising future. Such humility was a rare sight, as Auntie Hua had observed many people becoming arrogant after achieving success. Upon Xiaoxian's arrival, First Madam eagerly awaited her with a warm smile. They exchanged friendly conversation, with First Madam showing genuine concern for Xiaoxian's well-being. She offered her a hot towel to freshen up and served her some hot tea to ward off the evening chill. Their interactions resembled that of a mother and daughter, displaying a deep bond and understanding between them. After a brief rest, First Madam signaled for the dishes to be served, and they sat down together to enjoy the meal. At First Madam's spot, a bowl of rice was placed, while a delightful spread of 6 dishes and 1 soup adorned the small mahogany Rui-style round table. The dishes included crab powder, lukewarm kidney flour meatballs, sweet and sour spine meat, braised mutton, casserole tofu fish head, and bamboo fungus black chicken soup. Though common dishes for the Yuezhing family, they were prepared with great care, served in white bowls and plates, steaming hot, enticingly colorful and perfectly suited to satisfy both stomach and soul. After dinner, they retreated to the small hall to sip tea and aid their digestion while engaging in light conversation. Xianxia took the opportunity to update First Madam on the happenings back at her own home. Despite not possessing the same level of refinement as First Madam, Xianxia found comfort in confiding in her, knowing that she could seek counsel and wisdom if any problems arose. As she shared the news, Xianxia couldn't help but feel a surge of emotions upon recounting how her honest and straightforward elder brother had been deceived and set up. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1145. Friendly? If Xiao Yunduan were also present, they would need to extend an invitation to him for the banquet as well. The county magistrate would likely be displeased if he were excluded, even if he didn't voice it. They might fear that not inviting him could lead to unfavorable consequences in the future, perhaps with the Xiao family using this omission against them when they required assistance. As the evening approached early in the season, Xianxia and the others arrived in the province, and it was already dark. They made their way directly to the Yuezheng family. The entrance of the Yuezheng family was adorned with 2 rows of large lanterns, brightly illuminating the gate. Auntie Hua, accompanied by 2 maids, was standing next to First Madam, gazing into the distance. As she spotted the approaching wagon, she greeted them with a warm smile. "Fifth Mrs. Xiao, how much our madam has missed you. The evenings are growing colder, how was your journey?" Auntie Hua asked as she helped Xianxia down from the wagon. Xianxia replied with a smile, sensing Auntie Hua's concern. "Thank you for your kind words, Elder Aunt. The journey was smooth and I wouldn't dare to keep you waiting. Your thoughtfulness is truly appreciated." Auntie Hua smiled and humbly responded, "First Madam was eager for your arrival, so she sent me to greet you. I am not worthy of such a task. Please come inside. First Madam has already prepared dinner and eagerly awaits your company." Xianxia laughed cheerfully. As the sun sets, the cold becomes biting. The thought of the warm food prepared by Elder Aunt is truly heartening and invigorating. Auntie Hua chuckled in response, "That's exactly what First Madam said. On such days we should relish a good meal and warm soup. Everything is ready for you." As they strolled together, Auntie Hua found herself growing fonder of Xianxia with every passing moment. Coming from humble beginnings, both Auntie Hua and Xiao Yunduan had not been born into prosperous families, which compelled her to be respectful and courteous towards Xianxia. However, she couldn't help but notice that Xianxia's demeanor hadn't changed despite her husband's impressive position as a young and learned officer with a promising future. Such humility was a rare sight, as Auntie Hua had observed many people becoming arrogant after achieving success. Upon Xianxia's arrival, First Madam eagerly awaited her with a warm smile. They exchanged friendly conversation, with First Madam showing genuine concern for Xianxia's well-being. She offered her a hot towel to freshen up and served her some hot tea to ward off the evening chill. Their interactions resembled that of a mother and daughter, displaying a deep bond and understanding between them. After a brief rest, First Madam signaled for the dishes to be served, and they sat down together to enjoy the meal. At First Madam's spot, a bowl of rice was placed, while a delightful spread of 6 dishes and 1 soup adorned the small mahogany Rui-style round table. The dishes included crab powder, lukewarm kidney flour meatballs, sweet and sour spine meat, braised mutton, casserole tofu fish head, and bamboo fungus black chicken soup. Though common dishes for the Yuezheng family, they were prepared with great care, served in white bowls and plates, steaming hot, enticingly colorful and perfectly suited to satisfy both stomach and soul. After dinner, they retreated to the small hall to sip tea and aid their digestion while engaging in light conversation. Xianxia took the opportunity to update First Madam on the happenings back at her own home. Despite not possessing the same level of refinement as First Madam, Xianxia found comfort in confiding in her, knowing that she could seek counsel and wisdom if any problems arose. As she shared the news, Xianxia couldn't help but feel a surge of emotions upon recounting how her honest and straightforward elder brother had been deceived and set up. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1147. Seeking Fruit Forest Outside the City? Honestly speaking, those who run businesses are often more experienced and savvy compared to those from the countryside. Your mother-in-law is an exceptionally capable person, but I worry that she could be manipulated if someone with ulterior motives sets her up. It might be best if she doesn't involve herself in business decisions at all. Even if someone tries to plot against her, they won't succeed. Xianxia nodded in agreement, acknowledging that not all business families were as forthright as Xiao. The truth had been exposed, and the secrets couldn't remain hidden for long. Both she and Xiao Yunduan were absent, which could lead people to speculate and harbor sinister thoughts. After all, money had the power to corrupt people's intentions. When large sums of money were at stake, nobody would dare to take risks lightly. Could be tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of liang. Amused, Xiao recalled Miss Fang's character. Actually, my mother-in-law is quite different. She pays no heed to what others say and insists on waiting for me and my husband to come home and make decisions. First Madam smiled approvingly. Your mother-in-law is very wise. It was always better to avoid meddling in matters one didn't fully comprehend. They chatted for a while, and Xiao asked First Madam to bring a dozen servants to their home, to which First Madam agreed. Then, with a smile, Xiao mentioned her intention to visit the Xiao family and invite Ms. Fang and Tao Tao to the province for a visit. She wanted to get to know the Xiao family better. Xiao felt even more grateful, but the thought of Tao Tao's marriage made her hesitate, preventing her from seeking further help from First Madam. That was not very appropriate. First Madam's social circle primarily consisted of business people, and it might not be the most suitable environment for Tao Tao. Perhaps it would be best to wait and observe. If Tao Tao started going out more often and gaining more exposure, the right opportunity might come naturally. As the day drew to a close, Xiao and First Madam bid farewell to each other and retired to their respective guest rooms for some rest. The next morning, Xiao wrote a letter and requested First Madam to deliver it to her home. Xiao arrived after breakfast. She had intended to meet Xiao the previous day, but the timing didn't work out. Xiao had several business deals to discuss with Xiao, and their discussions lasted for half a day. Afterward, she handed over the payment for the tea leaves, lipsticks and snow fungus, amounting to more than 90,000 liang. The tea leaf production had increased significantly, and the lipsticks had seen a substantial rise in demand. Additionally, the snow fungus and dessert shops continued to perform well, resulting in substantial earnings. In total, Xiao now had almost 450,000 liang. Indeed, the Yuezhing family had a strong network and efficient channels, all of which were top-notch. With control over the sources and low labor costs, the money came in effortlessly, leaving Xiao worry-free. If she had been managing the business herself, she would have undoubtedly faced numerous challenges and headaches. Luckily, she had the good fortune of partnering with the Yuezhing family, which made all the difference. In the afternoon, Xiao couldn't contain her excitement and decided to visit the orchard. Accompanied by Xiao, she set out, but Xie Jingrong was currently away on a trip. Manager Zhou, Manager Bai, and a few waiters seemed to have been informed in advance and were waiting for her arrival, wearing welcoming smiles. The citrus and grapefruit were now ripe for picking. Xiao had already tasted them both at her home in Xiaoding village and at the family's estate the previous day. The fruits were incredibly juicy and sweet. Xiao mentioned that these two fruits were used to make fruit tea, which had become immensely popular. The dessert stores also sold fresh citrus and grapefruit, attracting a large number of customers. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1149. Trouble? She was excited about the prospect of having her own potato field next year. Considering her precious potatoes, Xiao generously gifted 10 kilograms of high-quality potato seeds to the Yuezhing family, assuring Xiao that they would yield delicious vegetables and rice. She emphasized that the seeds were advanced in production and easy to cultivate, ensuring a successful harvest regardless of the land they were planted on. Xiao truly understood her intentions. She always sought out the best things. Confident in her recommendation, Xiao felt as though he had stumbled upon a precious treasure. He consulted the experienced old gardener, seeking advice on the proper care and cultivation of potatoes. Determined to make the most of this opportunity, he planned to choose a suitable plot of land next year, plant the seeds diligently, and ensure proper care to maximize the harvest. After spending a couple of days in the province and visiting the Xie family, Xiao returned to the capital without mentioning anything about He Jiqing. She chose to keep it private, knowing that she and the Xie family were not particularly close. If Xie Jingrong were present, she would have shared the information without hesitation, as she wouldn't tolerate any disrespect from He Jiqing. Determined to discuss this matter with Xie Jingrong in person, Xiaoxian still looked forward to their reunion. She and her husband had been away for quite some time, and she couldn't wait to return to Tianjin and complete the mission successfully. Xiaoxian expressed her appreciation for the productive and pleasant business trip, but she knew it was time for them to head home. With the year drawing to a close, everyone was eager to reunite with their families. The 6 escorts were remarkably vigilant and proactive throughout the journey. Thanks to Xiaoxian's guidance, they skillfully avoided encountering 2 rainy spells, ensuring an exceptionally smooth trip. As the days progressed, the weather grew colder, with early mornings being particularly chilly, but the daytime remained pleasant. Finally, on the 20th of November they arrived in Tianjin. Xiaoxian paid the guards for their services and bid them farewell. Li Qiu and Li Xia, however, still felt a bit concerned. They requested Xiaoxian to arrange for the escorts to accompany them on their journey to the capital, as it was a considerable distance from Tianjin and would take a whole day. Their primary concern was the safety of their madam. Xiaoxian, with a reassuring smile, declined their request firmly. She pointed out that the journey to the capital was only a day's travel, and Tianjin was, in fact, considered a faraway suburb of the capital. The official road was well-traveled, broad, and flat, with a constant flow of people coming and going. Therefore, she believed there was no cause for worry regarding safety. Xiaoxian had her own matters to attend to and couldn't have the escort agency accompany her. Xiaoxian, well accustomed to traveling and possessing extensive knowledge, understood the crucial traits of reliable escorts. Besides their martial prowess, they needed to be cautious and alert. With the escorts accompanying her, Xiaoxian refrained from taking any action that might draw attention or suspicion. She felt like a ticking time bomb, always on the verge of being discovered. Noticing their wife's confidence and composure, Li Qiu and Li Xia felt somewhat reassured and decided to abandon the idea of having additional escorts accompany them. After spending one night in Tianjin, the group hired a wagon and continued their journey northward. When they were approximately 20 or 30 kilometers away from the capital, Xiaoxian suggested taking a break at a nearby tea house. Seizing the opportunity, Xiaoxian used the pretext of loosening her muscles and bones to venture into the woods. There, she expanded her divine sense, precisely locating one of the 4th prince's estates, which wasn't too far away. Her superpower had been growing stronger every day, allowing her to sense her surroundings without direct physical contact with plants. However, the range of her abilities had its limits. Thus, if she intended to cause trouble for the 4th prince, she knew it would be more effective to leave the wagon and approach the target directly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1149. Trouble? She was excited about the prospect of having her own potato field next year. Considering her precious potatoes, Xiaoxian generously gifted 10 kilograms of high-quality potato seeds to the Yuezhing family, assuring Yuezhing Xiao that they would yield delicious vegetables and rice. She emphasized that the seeds were advanced in production and easy to cultivate, ensuring a successful harvest regardless of the land they were planted on. Yuezhing Xiao truly understood her intentions. She always sought out the best things. Confident in her recommendation, Yuezhing Xiao felt as though he had stumbled upon a precious treasure. He consulted the experienced old gardener, seeking advice on the proper care and cultivation of potatoes. Determined to make the most of this opportunity, he planned to choose a suitable plot of land next year, plant the seeds diligently, and ensure proper care to maximize the harvest. After spending a couple of days in the province and visiting the Xie family, Xiaoxian returned to the capital without mentioning anything about He Jiqing. She chose to keep it private, knowing that she and the Xie family were not particularly close. If Xie Jingrong were present, she would have shared the information without hesitation, as she wouldn't tolerate any disrespect from He Jiqing. Determined to discuss this matter with Xie Jingrong in person, Xiaoxian still looked forward to their reunion. She and her husband had been away for quite some time, and she couldn't wait to return to Tianjin and complete the mission successfully. Xiaoxian expressed her appreciation for the productive and pleasant business trip, but she knew it was time for them to head home. With the year drawing to a close, everyone was eager to reunite with their families. The 6 escorts were remarkably vigilant and proactive throughout the journey. Thanks to Xiaoxian's guidance, they skillfully avoided encountering 2 rainy spells, ensuring an exceptionally smooth trip. As the days progressed, the weather grew colder, with early mornings being particularly chilly, but the daytime remained pleasant. Finally, on the 20th of November they arrived in Tianjin. Xiao Xian paid the guards for their services and bid them farewell. Li Qiu and Li Xia, however, still felt a bit concerned. They requested Xiao Xian to arrange for the escorts to accompany them on their journey to the capital, as it was a considerable distance from Tianjin and would take a whole day. Their primary concern was the safety of their madam. Xiao Xian, with a reassuring smile, declined their request firmly. She pointed out that the journey to the capital was only a day's travel, and Tianjin was, in fact, considered a faraway suburb of the capital. The official road was well-traveled, broad and flat, with a constant flow of people coming and going. Therefore, she believed there was no cause for worry regarding safety. Xiao Xian had her own matters to attend to and couldn't have the escort agency accompany her. Xiao Xian, well accustomed to traveling and possessing extensive knowledge, understood the crucial traits of reliable escorts. Besides their martial prowess, they needed to be cautious and alert. With the escorts accompanying her, Xiao Xian refrained from taking any action that might draw attention or suspicion. She felt like a ticking time bomb, always on the verge of being discovered. Noticing their wife's confidence and composure, Li Qiu and Li Xia felt somewhat reassured and decided to abandon the idea of having additional escorts accompany them. After spending one night in Tianjin, the group hired a wagon and continued their journey northward. When they were approximately 20 or 30 kilometers away from the capital, Xiao Xian suggested taking a break at a nearby tea house. Seizing the opportunity, Xiao Xian used the pretext of loosening her muscles and bones to venture into the woods. There, she expanded her divine sense, precisely locating one of the fourth prince's estates, which wasn't too far away. Her superpower had been growing stronger every day, allowing her to sense her surroundings without direct physical contact with plants. However, the range of her abilities had its limits. Thus, if she intended to cause trouble for the fourth prince, she knew it would be more effective to leave the wagon and approach the target directly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1151. Where did Old Master go? Amit Ba, it was a safe trip. Yeah, we are back safe and sound. Xiao Xian's excitement soared as thoughts of her husband, whom she hadn't seen in so long, flooded her mind. The anticipation of their reunion and the old saying, "Absence makes the heart grow fonder," made her heart skip a beat, causing her cheeks to flush with joy. However, upon their return, Xiao Yunduan was not there to greet them. Instead, Xianxia answered the door. Surprised and elated to see Xianxia, Xiao Xian bowed deeply and smiled. "Xianxia, you're here. That's wonderful." Xiao Xian smiled and nodded, asking, "Where is my husband? Has he not returned yet?" Hanlin Academy should have been off duty, so she wondered why he wasn't home. Annoyed thoughts crossed her mind. Could he have gone somewhere else without her knowledge? How dreadful. "Where is Old Master?" she asked, sounding rather stern as she turned to Xianxia. Xianxia had never seen her like this and it caught him off guard. He replied, "Madam, Old Master is working for the Crown Prince, and I have been assisting him. Old Master mentioned that you would be back soon, so he asked me to come home the day before. He should be back in a couple of days. Working for the Crown Prince?" Xiao Xian was startled. She had been gone for less than 2 months, and she felt out of touch with her husband, finding it difficult to comprehend what Xianxia was talking about. What could the Hanlin Academy possibly do for the Crown Prince, especially when he was out of the capital? Xianxia said, "Yes, madam, never mind." Xiao Xian waved her hands and said gently, "Let's eat dinner first, and after dinner you can tell me about this. We won't cook tonight, but you can buy 4 or 5 dishes from G restaurant outside the alley. 1 soup and you can take care of the rest." Finding reassurance in the fact that Xiao Yunduan hadn't gone out to have fun, Xiao Xian's worries dissipated instantly. She sounded calm and gentle, like the gracious mistress of the family. Xianxia had no idea what was going on with his mother-in-law, but he let out a sigh of relief and nodded. He took the money from Li Xia and went out to order food. Xiao Xian and her servant didn't have much luggage on the trip, only a few bags with some clothes. Li Xia and Li Qiu would carry them back to the room and put everything away. There was hot water in the kitchen, and a brick bed in the room made it very warm and cozy inside. Finally they were home. Xiao Xian let out a sigh of relief, feeling a sense of relaxation wash over her. She smiled, feeling the warmth in her heart. This was her and her husband's home. Indeed, there was no place like home. Xianxia felt at ease, carefree and nonchalant. Even the best hostels on the road couldn't compare to the comfort of being home. But her husband still wasn't there. Soon, Xianxia returned with food boxes. Wuxia and Liqiu quickly set up the table and carefully placed the dishes one by one. On the table were shredded pork with capital sauce, roast beef with winter bamboo shoots, sliced fish, stir-fried vegetables, and a large bowl of steaming mutton soup garnished with coriander and green onions. Additionally, there were 4 dishes from the restaurant: 8 treasure pickles, pickled radishes, mustard cabbage with sauce, and shredded bamboo shoots with red oil. Xianxia smiled. Let's start serving the dishes from the boxes before they get cold. Afterward, you can wash up and take a break. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1151. Where did Old Master go? Amit, it was a safe trip. Yeah, we are back safe and sound. Xiaoxian's excitement soared as thoughts of her husband, whom she hadn't seen in so long, flooded her mind. The anticipation of their reunion and the old saying, "Absence makes the heart grow fonder," made her heart skip a beat, causing her cheeks to flush with joy. However, upon their return, Xiaoyunduan was not there to greet them. Instead, Xianxia answered the door. Surprised and elated to see Xianxia, Xiaoxian bowed deeply and smiled. "Xianxia, you're here. That's wonderful." Xiaoxian smiled and nodded, asking, "Where is my husband? Has he not returned yet?" Hanlin Academy should have been off duty, so she wondered why he wasn't home. Annoyed thoughts crossed her mind. Could he have gone somewhere else without her knowledge? How dreadful. "Where is Old Master?" she asked, sounding rather stern as she turned to Xianxia. Xianxia had never seen her like this and it caught him off guard. He replied, "Madam, Old Master is working for the Crown Prince, and I have been assisting him. Old Master mentioned that you would be back soon, so he asked me to come home the day before. He should be back in a couple of days. Working for the Crown Prince?" Xiaoxian was startled. She had been gone for less than 2 months, and she felt out of touch with her husband, finding it difficult to comprehend what Xianxia was talking about. What could the Hanlin Academy possibly do for the Crown Prince, especially when he was out of the capital? Xianxia said, "Yes, madam, never mind." Xiaoxian waved her hands and said gently, "Let's eat dinner first, and after dinner you can tell me about this. We won't cook tonight, but you can buy 4 or 5 dishes from G restaurant outside the alley. 1 soup and you can take care of the rest." Finding reassurance in the fact that Xiaoyunduan hadn't gone out to have fun, Xiaoxian's worries dissipated instantly. She sounded calm and gentle, like the gracious mistress of the family. Xianxia had no idea what was going on with his mother-in-law, but he let out a sigh of relief and nodded. He took the money from Wuxia and went out to order food. Xiaoxian and her servant didn't have much luggage on the trip, only a few bags with some clothes. Wuxia and Liqiu would carry them back to the room and put everything away. There was hot water in the kitchen, and a brick bed in the room made it very warm and cozy inside. Finally they were home. Xiaoxian let out a sigh of relief, feeling a sense of relaxation wash over her. She smiled, feeling the warmth in her heart. This was her and her husband's home. Indeed, there was no place like home. Xiaoxian felt at ease, carefree and nonchalant. Even the best hostels on the road couldn't compare to the comfort of being home. But her husband still wasn't there. Soon, Xianxia returned with food boxes. Wuxia and Liqiu quickly set up the table and carefully placed the dishes one by one. On the table were shredded pork with capital sauce, roast beef with winter bamboo shoots, sliced fish, stir-fried vegetables, and a large bowl of steaming mutton soup garnished with coriander and green onions. Additionally, there were 4 dishes from the restaurant: 8 treasure pickles, pickled radishes, mustard cabbage with sauce, and shredded bamboo shoots with red oil. Xiaoxian smiled. "Let's start serving the dishes from the boxes before they get cold. Afterward, you can wash up and take a break." Chapter 1153. Minister Old Yun? Xiaoyunduan's surprise was evident, yet he was determined not to let go of this golden opportunity. As he eloquently discussed a section of the book, the ministers couldn't help but commend him calmly. He couldn't help but feel inwardly pleased as he realized why the emperor had been so intrigued by his talents. Emperor Xian of Qi was even more delighted with Xiaoyunduan's performance. Although not a poetry enthusiast, The emperor was well versed in the 4 books and 5 sutras and recognized Xiao Yunduan's exceptional abilities in poetry as well. The emperor's joy knew no bounds as he honored Xiao Yunduan with a set of study treasures and a copy of the imperial book. However, this was not the end of the story. The young master overheard something intriguing about Xiao Yunduan's intermediate sutras and passed on the message to the East Palace. It was revealed that Xiao Yunduan's Master Yun happened to be the retired teacher of the Crown Prince. Master Yun's credentials were impressive as a contemporary Confucian with a distinguished career as an academician of the Hanlin Academy, left Assistant Minister of Rites, Minister of the Ministry of Personnel, and Grand Secretary of Yuan Pavilion. Prior to becoming the Grand Tutor of the Crown Prince, he had numerous disciples due to his fame and extensive network. Yet, the Crown Prince, along with the Second Prince, the Third Prince and the Fourth Prince, managed the country's governance. To prevent any complications or interference, Master Yun chose to withdraw from his governmental position. His decision was to ensure that the Crown Prince could focus on his responsibilities without any unnecessary concerns or fears arising from Master Yun's presence in the court. The Crown Prince understood the reasons behind Master Yun's departure and reluctantly watched his honored tutor leave the capital. As the most devoted student of Minister Old Yun, the young master deeply respected his teacher and was well acquainted with the teachings he had passed on to Xiao Yunduan. When the young master noticed the similarities, he became suspicious and confronted Xiao Yunduan, ultimately confirming his suspicions by comparing the portrait of the old master. Both surprised and delighted, the Crown Prince and Xiao Yunduan were left in awe of the unexpected connection. It became clear why Master Yun had initially been hesitant to accept Xiao Yunduan as his disciple or allow him to address him as master. After the Crown Prince, Master Yun had refrained from taking on any more disciples, making Xiao Yunduan a unique exception. The revelation brought immense joy to the Crown Prince, as he realized that Xiao Yunduan was not merely his junior brother but a student taught directly by his beloved master. The familiarity he sensed in Xiao Yunduan's essay now made perfect sense, as Xiao Yunduan had absorbed some of the essence of Master Yun's style during their interactions. The discovery of this connection between the two left Xiao Yunduan dumbfounded and filled the Crown Prince with pride, knowing that his esteemed master's teachings continued to influence and shape talented individuals like Xiao Yunduan. However, during that time the Crown Prince hadn't considered the possibility of reuniting with Xiao Yunduan, and now he deeply regretted it. He wished he had reconnected with him much earlier, avoiding the lost time. Despite the strangeness of their unexpected reunion, the Crown Prince couldn't hide his excitement as he looked at Xiao Yunduan with sparkling eyes. He was eager to inquire about the well-being of the Grand Tutor and was pleased to find Xiao Yunduan very amicable. Ever since Minister Old Yun left the capital, there had been no contact with him. The Crown Prince felt a sense of sadness whenever he thought about the elder man. He understood that the reason for Minister Old Yun's departure was likely to give up everything and leave behind the complexities of the court. Though the Crown Prince longed for the elder man's return to the capital, he was aware of the purpose behind his mentor's actions. He knew it was best for the elderly men to stay away from the court's intrigue and politics. The Crown Prince's father had placed great trust in Minister Old Yun, and it was due to that trust that the Crown Prince found himself in his current position. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1155. Returning Our Luck. That was the junior brother of the Crown Prince. Everyone knew how much the young master respected Minister Old Yun. He had been in the intermediate for a long time, and Minister Old Yun had never accepted any disciples or taught anyone. The disciples he had accepted in the early years were all much older than the young master, and they had their own careers, or they had taught countless disciples, so the young master did not need to ask for his guidance. One of Minister Old Yun's disciples was born after the Crown Prince, and the Crown Prince would definitely treat him well. Xianxia felt a mix of sadness and bitterness. She had good taste, but what was the point of having good taste? It was not the right time. In the end she got nothing. Officer Tian and Madame Tian were both annoyed. What was going on? Needless to say, Madame Lady Qiao felt furious as she covered her chest. She glared at Third Old Master and his wife, demanding them to bring Xiao Xian back home. That damn girl must have stolen our luck. She's so evil. Why did you even raise her? I want her to return our fortune to us. The couple from the first section of the family and the second section of the family did not say a thing. They looked at each other coldly as if they believed what Third Old Master Qiao said. Or they would rather believe what they said. They started to view Third Old Master Qiao and his wife differently. That man was involved with Minister Old Yun. Minister Old Yun was the most respected scholar in the whole world, holding positions as the tutor of the Crown Prince and as a scholar of the Academy. All scholars in the world admired him, including Third Old Master Qiao Hongxi, and the son of the second section of the family. How fortunate it was for someone to be taught by Minister Old Yun, especially after having taught the young master. It was like receiving a lifetime of blessings. Qiao Hongxi and Qiao Hongquang were also highly motivated. They believed Madame Lady Qiao's words. Qiao Xian must have stolen the Qiao family's fortune. There couldn't be any other explanation. Otherwise, how could Xiao Yunduan have risen from a poor boy in the countryside, born to do labor work, to his current status? Third Old Master's face darkened with regret, feeling the pain in his chest. Third Madame Qiao's eyes turned red, as she cursed fate for being so unfair and blind. And when he thought about how Minister Old Yun had taught Xiao Yunduan in the county for so long, Third Old Master felt even more remorseful, wishing he could smash his head against the wall in frustration. It was exasperating. Qiao Xian might not know much, being a woman, but Xiao Yunduan was a man and should have had some knowledge. Even if he had no idea who Minister Old Yun was, he should not have lied about it. If he had known that there was such a knowledgeable man in the country, he should have informed him. After all, he was still their son-in-law at that time. Third Old Master couldn't bear it any longer, and he stopped Xiao Yunduan and blamed him. Xiao Yunduan was feeling increasingly frustrated. He had been worn out by all kinds of social gatherings in recent days, leaving him with no energy to engage with Third Old Master Qiao. Confronted by Third Old Master's angry accusations, he maintained a calm demeanor and responded, "Minister Old Yun values tranquility and dislikes disturbances. He advised us not to mention him in front of others." This reply only further aggravated Third Old Master's annoyance. 4 days after the news was exposed, Xiao Yunduan received a transfer order from his officer's superior. He was officially appointed as the Minister Counselor of the Ministry of Revenue, receiving a promotion from a 7th-ranked officer to a 5th-ranked officer, a remarkable advancement of 2 ranks. For him, this promotion was nothing short of a miracle. Graciously accepting the order, Xiao Yunduan bid farewell to the Hanlin Academy and embraced his new position. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1157. Slap on the Face. Xiao Yunduan found himself in a dilemma and needed to carefully consider his next steps. Although he was leading a peaceful life, someone was causing trouble for him. The 4th prince and honored Princess Mei were greatly annoyed by the situation. On the other hand, the 2nd prince and 3rd prince didn't pay much attention to Xiao Yunduan's actions. They believed that his association with the crown prince and his father's admiration didn't hold much significance, as Xiao Yunduan lacked a powerful background and appeared too weak to be of any help to the crown prince. However, things took a different turn because of the Tian family's involvement. The 4th prince felt humiliated and slapped in the face due to their actions. Princess Virtue Sun's jokes in front of the Empress, which indirectly targeted honored Princess Mei, only fueled her annoyance further. Feeling humiliated and unable to tolerate the disrespect, honored Princess Mei decided to take a stand against the concubine. Moreover, the 4th prince's growing support and the emperor's favor towards him gave them a sense of superiority over the crown prince, who lacked the same level of backing from his mother's family. They were confident that the crown prince would eventually step down, but Xiao Yunduan's actions brought them face to face with a challenge from the crown prince's side. This situation worried them because they considered their reputation and the perceptions of their followers and those who remained neutral. They were aware that no one could compete with the crown prince, and his association with Minister Old Yun commanded even more respect and admiration. After much discussion, the mother and son decided to address the situation by confronting Xiao Yunduan. Wasn't he the Primus personally taught by Minister Old Yun? Wasn't he an advanced talent? But if he had a bad character and wasn't that good, did that mean that Minister Old Yun was getting old, not intermediate, and had bad taste? With this, she could get Minister Old Yun off the pedestal. If she could control it well, she might even be able to take down the crown prince. The 4th prince went back to the mansion and passed on the message to He Jiqing. "You are the cousin of the Xia family, and I heard that young Master Xia is in a good relationship with Xiao Yunduan, right? I will leave this to you and I don't care what method you use. If you succeed, I will treat you well." In the end, the 4th prince decided to listen to his mother and not look down at women. He Jiqing was the best person to deal with this. She was Xiao Yunduan's old friend, and even if that did not work out, she could be pushed out as the scapegoat. It was reasonable to say that they had a grudge against each other and she was taking revenge on them. Yijiqing felt both bitter and motivated. That was not a very easy thing to do. She would definitely be moved. She was a concubine and he would not treat her badly. He would either give her the position of a concubine or give her a son. Either way, she wanted them all. She even wanted both of them. But there was no free lunch in the world and there was no free lunch. Elder Miss had given her a warning before and she could still stall for time. But since His Highness said so, she could not delay any longer. Yijiqing asked Xiao Wei to meet her privately. Xiao Wei was very young but she looked fierce. She was not having a good time either. She was suffering physically and mentally. That was such a huge blow to her. When Xiao Xian fell into the water and was forced to break off the engagement with the Yang family, she felt happy and gloating. Chapter 1157. Slap on the Face. Xiao Yunduan found himself in a dilemma and needed to carefully consider his next steps. Although he was leading a peaceful life, someone was causing trouble for him. The fourth prince and honored Princess Mei were greatly annoyed by the situation. On the other hand, the second prince and third prince didn't pay much attention to Xiao Yunduan's actions. They believed that his association with the crown prince and his father's admiration didn't hold much significance as Xiao Yunduan lacked a powerful background and appeared too weak to be of any help to the crown prince. However, things took a different turn because of the Tian family's involvement. The fourth prince felt humiliated and slapped in the face due to their actions. Princess Virtue's son's jokes in front of the Empress, which indirectly targeted honored Princess Mei, only fueled her annoyance further. Feeling humiliated and unable to tolerate the disrespect, honored Princess Mei decided to take a stand against the concubine. Moreover, the fourth prince's growing support and the emperor's favor towards him gave them a sense of superiority over the crown prince, who lacked the same level of backing from his mother's family. They were confident that the crown prince would eventually step down, but Xiao Yunduan's actions brought them face to face with a challenge from the crown prince's side. This situation worried them because they considered their reputation and the perceptions of their followers and those who remained neutral. They were aware that no one could compete with the crown prince, and his association with Minister Old Yun commanded even more respect and admiration. After much discussion, the mother and son decided to address the situation by confronting Xiao Yunduan. Wasn't he the Primus personally taught by Minister Old Yun? Wasn't he an advanced talent? But if he had a bad character and wasn't that good, did that mean that Minister Old Yun was getting old, not intermediate, and had bad taste? With this, she could get Minister Old Yun off the pedestal. If she could control it well, she might even be able to take down the crown prince. The fourth prince went back to the mansion and passed on the message to Yijiqing. You are the cousin of the Xia family, and I heard that young Master Xia is in a good relationship with Xiao Yunduan, right? I will leave this to you and I don't care what method you use. If you succeed, I will treat you well. In the end, the fourth prince decided to listen to his mother and not look down at women. Yijiqing was the best person to deal with this. She was Xiao Yunduan's old friend, and even if that did not work out, she could be pushed out as the scapegoat. It was reasonable to say that they had a grudge against each other and she was taking revenge on them. Yijiqing felt both bitter and motivated. That was not a very easy thing to do. She would definitely be moved. She was a concubine and he would not treat her badly. He would either give her the position of a concubine or give her a son. Either way, she wanted them all. She even wanted both of them. But there was no free lunch in the world and there was no free lunch. Elder Miss had given her a warning before and she could still stall for time. But since His Highness said so, she could not delay any longer. Yijiqing asked Xiao Wei to meet her privately. Xiao Wei was very young but she looked fierce. She was not having a good time either. She was suffering physically and mentally. That was such a huge blow to her. When Xiao Xian fell into the water and was forced to break off the engagement with the Yang family, she felt happy and gloating. Chapter 1159. Exposure. That was what the emperor said, and no one would dare to doubt that. Also, this was the best and most effective method. Yijiqing had the backing of the fourth prince, and she didn't care if Tian Shanshan was satisfied or not. In her opinion, Xiao Yunduan was a sure bet working with the crown prince, and Tian Shanshan had no chance with him anymore. So she didn't need to worry about a thing. Yijiqing looked down at Xiao Wei. She was so timid and lacked courage. What could she do? But that was good too. Xiao Wei was the easiest person to manipulate. A few days later, a group from the Hanlin Academy gathered at Xianxia to recite poetry, and they invited Xiao Yunduan along with some other young officials from the 6 departments. Xiao Yunduan couldn't turn down such a gathering, especially when he was in the limelight. Otherwise he would be blamed for not fitting in. Xiao Yunduan was well aware that he had become the junior brother of Minister Old Yun and the Crown Prince's junior brother. Everyone congratulated him on the surface, but they were all secretly jealous of his newfound status. At this moment they couldn't leave any evidence behind. Also, things were different now. Since he had decided to make plans for the Crown Prince, he couldn't simply keep a low profile like before. It was more important for him to have a wide circle of friends and identify potential allies. The Xiang Mountains offered beautiful scenery, and they enjoyed swimming in the mountains and rivers. But why hadn't the thrifty people who gathered here made tea to add to the fun? Despite that, they had a great time throughout the day. In the afternoon they returned to town and went straight to a restaurant for dinner. The cost of the dinner was pooled together. The 4th prince and the 3rd prince had always been interested in these matters, so they gladly contributed as well. Xiao Yunduan, being a wealthy man, offered 100 liang when gathering the money. He might not match the 3rd prince and the 4th prince, but his contribution was still quite impressive. With ample funds, the table was filled with good wine and delicacies. Everyone was talking and laughing, creating a lively atmosphere. One person took the lead in offering Xiao Yunduan a toast and congratulations, praising his promising future. Others followed suit, whether they were sincere or not. Xiao Yunduan had no reason to turn them down. If he did, it would seem too proud and rude. But with so many people around, he smiled bitterly and repeatedly expressed that he couldn't hold his liquor well. He apologized again and again, eventually convincing them to switch to smaller wine glasses. Reluctantly, Xiao Yunduan began drinking them one by one. After consuming so many glasses, Xiao Yunduan got quite drunk. Not wanting to drink any further, he pretended to be heavily intoxicated. Some guests remarked, "Just let him be," and others agreed, letting him off the hook. When the banquet was over, he arranged for someone to drive him home with the help of Xianxia. At his doorstep, Xianxia did his best to assist his master, thanking the officer who had seen them off. Once inside the yard, Xianxia closed the door behind them. Xiao Yunduan leaned against the wall and vomited, feeling slightly better. To his surprise, he wasn't actually as drunk as he had led them to believe. He was impressed by how well he had managed to hold his liquor. After resting for a while in his room, he felt even more awake. Xianxia hurriedly boiled hot water and fetched water for Xiao Yunduan to wash up. He prepared a bowl of hot tea to help alleviate the hangover. Additionally, he filled a thick cotton-coated jar with hot water, placing it at the head of his bed, so Xiao Yunduan could have water to drink in the middle of the night when he felt thirsty. With Song's his assistance, Xiao Yunduan lay down, and as he closed the door, Xianxia left the room. Chapter 1159. Exposure? That was what the emperor said, and no one would dare to doubt that. Also, this was the best and most effective method. He Jiqing had the backing of the 4th prince, and she didn't care if Tian Shanshan was satisfied or not. In her opinion, Xiao Yunduan was a sure bet working with the crown prince, and Tian Shanshan had no chance with him anymore. So she didn't need to worry about a thing. He Jiqing looked down at Xiao Wei. She was so timid and lacked courage. What could she do? But that was good too. Xiao Wei was the easiest person to manipulate. A few days later, a group from the Hanlin Academy gathered at Xianxia to recite poetry, and they invited Xiao Yunduan along with some other young officials from the 6 departments. Xiao Yunduan couldn't turn down such a gathering, especially when he was in the limelight. Otherwise he would be blamed for not fitting in. Xiao Yunduan was well aware that he had become the junior brother of Minister Old Yun and the Crown Prince's junior brother. Everyone congratulated him on the surface, but they were all secretly jealous of his newfound status. At this moment they couldn't leave any evidence behind. Also, things were different now. Since he had decided to make plans for the Crown Prince, he couldn't simply keep a low profile like before. It was more important for him to have a wide circle of friends and identify potential allies. The Xiang Mountains offered beautiful scenery, and they enjoyed swimming in the mountains and rivers. But why hadn't the thrifty people who gathered here made tea to add to the fun? Despite that, they had a great time throughout the day. In the afternoon they returned to town and went straight to a restaurant for dinner. The cost of the dinner was pooled together. The 4th prince and the 3rd prince had always been interested in these matters, so they gladly contributed as well. Xiao Yunduan, being a wealthy man, offered 100 liang when gathering the money. He might not match the 3rd prince and the 4th prince, but his contribution was still quite impressive. With ample funds, the table was filled with good wine and delicacies. Everyone was talking and laughing, creating a lively atmosphere. One person took the lead in offering Xiao Yunduan a toast and congratulations, praising his promising future. Others followed suit, whether they were sincere or not. Xiao Yunduan had no reason to turn them down. If he did, it would seem too proud and rude. But with so many people around, he smiled bitterly and repeatedly expressed that he couldn't hold his liquor well. He apologized again and again, eventually convincing them to switch to smaller wine glasses. Reluctantly, Xiao Yunduan began drinking them one by one. After consuming so many glasses, Xiao Yunduan got quite drunk. Not wanting to drink any further, he pretended to be heavily intoxicated. Some guests remarked, "Just let him be," and others agreed, letting him off the hook. When the banquet was over, he arranged for someone to drive him home with the help of Xianxia. At his doorstep, Xianxia did his best to assist his master, thanking the officer who had seen them off. Once inside the yard, Xianxia closed the door behind them. Xiao Yunduan leaned against the wall and vomited, feeling slightly better. To his surprise, he wasn't actually as drunk as he had led them to believe. He was impressed by how well he had managed to hold his liquor. After resting for a while in his room, he felt even more awake. Xianxia hurriedly boiled hot water and fetched water for Xiao Yunduan to wash up. He prepared a bowl of hot tea to help alleviate the hangover. Additionally, he filled a thick cotton-coated jar with hot water, placing it at the head of his bed, so Xiao Yunduan could have water to drink in the middle of the night when he felt thirsty. With Song's his assistance, Xiao Yunduan lay down, and as he closed the door, Xianxia left the room. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1161. Good Tolerance. Xiao Yunduan's eyes were filled with a chilling sneer as he looked upon the scene. That was a good plan. Deep down, he knew that the unexpected encounter with Qiao Wei at his doorstep while he was inebriated, and with Qiao Xian absent, was no mere accident. It had to be orchestrated, likely involving the Tian family or the fourth prince's mansion. Only they could have ensured he got drunk tonight. While the Qiao family might have seen this as a golden opportunity to bring Qiao Wei closer to the crown prince, they couldn't have controlled whether he would end up inebriated or not. Recognizing the scheme at play, Xiao Yunduan jotted down a few notes and dispatched Xianxia to the crown prince's mansion. He instructed Xianxia to find the patrolling soldiers and inform them that he had forgotten about an urgent matter that needed his attention. This way, he could excuse his hasty departure from the current scene to avoid potential trouble. With still some time before midnight, Xianxia discreetly left the place, his presence hardly drawing any attention. However, when he stumbled upon Qiao Wei lying on the ground, he was taken aback and wisely refrained from probing further. Their master would never approve of elder Miss Qiao, so Xianxia was convinced that he had been deceived. Despite this, he had no intention of casting Qiao Wei aside. He and Xianxia knew that transporting her elsewhere was challenging as they lacked a wagon and risked being noticed if they tried to move her discreetly. Moreover, leaving Qiao Wei outside would mean subjecting her to the freezing weather, potentially resulting in her death. If she were to pass away near her own home, suspicion would undoubtedly fall on them. Another concern was the possibility of guards sent by the Tian family or the fourth prince being stationed nearby. Any attempt to carry Qiao Wei away could lead to their capture, and explaining their actions would be an arduous task. Aware of the potential enemies he would encounter once he became the crown prince's confidant, Xiao Yunduan had always been vigilant. However, he had never expected such a vile scheme to be set in motion against him. Fortunately, his alcohol tolerance saved them from disaster. Otherwise, they would have been in grave danger. Yet, who could have predicted that their peaceful day of enjoying mountain scenery and poetry would turn into a night of revelry and drunkenness at home? It was not uncommon for them to doze off under such circumstances. But they were waiting for them here. Xiao Yunduan felt that he would have been utterly humiliated if he had been set up in his own home. Nothing could be more frustrating than this. Taking a moment to compose himself, Xiao Yunduan decided to take action. He retrieved some ropes and securely tied up Qiao Wei, making sure she couldn't cause any trouble. The sight of her, the lineal daughter of the Qiao family and a noble lady, bound and helpless filled him with disgust. Meanwhile, Xianxia ventured outside and quickly located a small team from the military department responsible for night patrols. He revealed his identity and explained the situation, requesting their assistance. Upon learning that it concerned the Crown Prince, the team didn't dare to waste any time and immediately sent 2 men to accompany Xianxia to the Crown Prince's mansion. Arriving at the Crown Prince's mansion late at night, his presence startled the gatekeeper, who promptly allowed him in while notifying the Crown Prince of his arrival. Upon reading the note Xiao Yunduan had entrusted to Xianxia, the Crown Prince's expression turned grave, his inner fury mounting. Had it not been for Xiao Yunduan's ability to handle alcohol, his reputation would have suffered irreparable damage the following day. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1163, Instigated. Xiao Yunduan briskly left the room, striding toward Xiao Hongxi and positioning himself in front of the door. Xiao Hongxi, what brings you here? He asked calmly. Xiao Hongxi's face was flushed with anger. How dare you ask me that? You've bullied my sister and ruined her reputation. How could you have the audacity to question me? He had harbored the thought of hitting Xiao Yunduan for a while, and he saw this as the perfect opportunity. Rolling up his sleeves, he prepared to strike. Reacting quickly, Xianxia stepped forward and grabbed Xiao Hongxi's hands, shouting, "Young Master Xiao, don't do anything rash. Our 5th master holds a prominent position as a 5th-grade Minister of Revenue, while you are merely a fortunate man from Hanlin Academy. Hitting our 5th master would be a grave offense to your superior." At the mention of Xiao Yunduan's status, Xiao Hongxi's anger subsided somewhat. The bystanders who had followed Xiao Hongxi were eager to intervene, but they held back, realizing the situation's seriousness. It was a tense and charged moment. Glancing at the onlookers, Xiao Yunduan discerned that they were no ordinary troublemakers. Their willingness to come to Xiao Hongxi's aid hinted that they were manipulated into this confrontation. A faint smile crossed Xiao Yunduan's face, finding their arrogance amusing. "Young Master Xiao, please explain yourself clearly. Why have you come to my home so early in the morning and made such baseless accusations? You can't simply defame me like this. If you fail to provide a reasonable explanation, we can settle this matter at the Heavenly Mansion office," Xiao Yunduan calmly retorted. "How dare you say that?" Xiao Hongxi's rage intensified. "My sister visited you yesterday to mend ties between our families, but she didn't return home the entire night. How dare you claim that you had no part in it? How dare you deny any involvement? You have the audacity to suggest searching me? If you do so and find nothing, then let's see what you have to say." Xiao Hongxi threatened, attempting to challenge Xiao Yunduan's innocence. Outside the door, a group of curious neighbors had gathered, drawn in by the commotion. They were taken aback by Xiao Hongxi's accusations and exchanged puzzled glances. "What is happening? This doesn't seem right. I can't believe Officer Xiao would do something like that. He has a good relationship with Madame Xiao." Indeed, Officer Xiao is known for his talent and was personally taught by Minister Old Yun. It's hard to believe he could be involved in such a matter. I'm skeptical about this. Agreed, let's not jump to conclusions without proper evidence. Xiao Yunduan's expression turned disdainful. "This is utterly ridiculous. You think you can just barge in and search my room without any evidence?" Xiao Hongxi's aggression only intensified. "Your guilt is evident from your defensive stance. That tactic won't work on me. I've even claimed that the Qiao family stole 1,000 liang from me. If you doubt my word, feel free to search my room. I have nothing to hide." "You're being completely unreasonable." Hee. Xiao Yunduan shook his head, realizing his words fell on deaf ears. "Xiao Hongxi, I'm not joking around here. I won't let you invade my privacy and disturb my home just based on baseless accusations. This is not going to happen." "I don't care. Xiao Yunduan, I'm dead serious about this matter. I will search your room today whether you like it or not. I won't let my sister suffer for nothing. Politeness won't work with him, just go ahead and search." "We'll see who dares." Xiao Yunduan retorted sharply. "You may be young Master Qiao, but that doesn't give you the right to trespass and act like a robber. You're blatantly disregarding the law and challenging the court. Be careful of the consequences you'll face, like beheading. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1165, Disbelief. So, Xiao Yunduan selected a few respected elders from the community to help him search the room. As they began the search, Xiao Hongxi couldn't help but feel a surge of envy at how well-liked Xiao Yunduan was among the neighbors. Inwardly, he started to entertain the idea that his grandmother might have been right. Perhaps Xiao Xian had stolen their family fortune and given it to Xiao Yunduan. How else could he have such strong support and freedom to act as he pleased? Xiao Hongxi's annoyance grew, and he glared at Xiao Yunduan, determined to teach him a lesson. Believing that finding his sister would prove Xiao Yunduan's deceit, Xiao Hongxi stormed into the room, accompanied by the others. To their surprise, they couldn't find Xiao Wei anywhere, leaving them dumbfounded. Xiao Hongxi didn't realize the significance of this, but Xiao Yunduan did. The idle men exchanged anxious glances, sensing that something was amiss. Xiao Yunduan knew exactly where they had come from, and his mind raced to understand the situation. How is this possible? How can she be gone? Xiao Hongxi exclaimed in disbelief. Recalling the letter he received detailing Xiao Yunduan's actions the previous night and his supposed interactions with Xiao Wei, he had believed every word. Furthermore, he had even checked Xiao Wei's room and found it empty. It was clear that she wasn't there. Xiao Hongxi had sought out the assistance of some passers-by, asking them to join in the search. In his mind, Xiao Yunduan must be hiding something, as he had repeatedly rejected their offers to help. But now, faced with the inability to find his sister, Xiao Hongxi's frustration peaked. You must have hidden her, he accused Xiao Yunduan, his emotions getting the best of him. Xiao Yunduan's voice turned cold as he retorted, Xiao Hongxi, it seems like you're the only one who's vocal here, right? You believe what you say is the absolute truth? Fine, then take me to the governmental office if that's what you think. Your sister's disappearance is a serious matter after all. Xiao Hongxi was already panicking. Last night she clearly, you saw that? No, but, heard that? Who did you hear this from? Xiao Hongxi had no idea who it was, and even if he did, he would not reveal the secret. Neighbors could not stand that anymore. They complained. That is so over the top. They are ruining Officer Xiao's reputation. I knew it. Officer Xiao is not like this. I almost believed what that man said, but that man looks so mean and wretched. He is definitely not a good person. Xiao Hongxi's face flushed with anger as he snapped, I am not mistaken. My sister must have been here. You must have set her up. Xiao Yunduan sneered in response to Xiao Hongxi's accusation. As they continued to argue, a team of guards entered the room, causing Xiao Hongxi to startle. The onlookers' hearts sank, sensing trouble was brewing. Seizing the opportunity, Xiao Yunduan pointed at Xiao Hongxi and said to the guards, Thank you for your timely arrival. This man has falsely accused me, and I have no idea what he's talking about. Please escort him to the governmental office and request the governor to interrogate him. The guards greeted Xiao Yunduan respectfully and nodded in agreement. Xianxia, one of the onlookers, took this moment to recount the entire incident to the guards. The leader of the guards seemed eager to please Xiao Yunduan and showed no concern for Xiao Hongxi. He promptly ordered his men to fetch Xiao Yunduan. Furious at Xiao Yunduan's actions, Xiao Hongxi struggled and yelled, Xiao Yunduan, you set up my sister and attempted to frame me. You are a disgraceful son-in-law of the Qiao family. My father must have been blind to accept you into our family. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1167. Nonsense. Impossible. That is impossible. Xiao Hongxi was not stupid either. The letter clearly explained how Xiao Yunduan behaved the day before, how his sister went to the Xiao family to beg Xiao Yunduan, and how Xiao Yunduan took her into the yard. In short, there were so many details and it couldn't have been a rumor made out of nothing. Those who were not at Xiao Yunduan's gathering the day before would not have known so many details. Those details could be verified by asking a few people who were present that day. As long as the details could be proved to be true, then the other contents of the letter could be believed, right? Or maybe Xiao Yunduan was the suspect. That was why Xiao Hongxi dared to cause trouble for Xiao Yunduan. Also, he was worried that Xiao Yunduan would move his sister away. So he rushed to the Xiao residence as soon as he heard the news and confirmed that his sister was not in the room. But he had not expected that Xiao Yunduan would report this to the governmental office. He reported this to the governmental office. What he had not expected was that the letter, which he had been holding in his arms, disappeared without a trace. Xiao Hongxi, how dare you? The governor got impatient and snapped. Xiao Hongxi shivered and almost tripped. Officer, that is not true. I swear that the letter did exist. Otherwise, I would not have known that Xiao Yunduan would do something like this. Yes, Xiao Yunduan must have stolen the letter. He must have. The governor was so annoyed that he sneered. You are a scholar? You are so unreasonable. You mean Officer Xiao stole the letter from you in public? What else could Xiao Hongxi say? He gritted his teeth and nodded. Yes, officer. Nonsense. Without evidence, it is a false accusation. You are a scholar, don't you know anything? Xiao Hongxi hated it when people looked down at him for not being a scholar. He was so angry that he wanted to argue, but he had no idea what to say. At this moment, the messenger from the Qiao family returned. Officer, the lady of the Qiao family is at the mansion and she is fine. Xiao Hongxi was startled. The governor sneered. What else do you have to say? That can't be possible. She is not here, how could she? The constable threw a speechless look at him. Miss Qiao said that she had lost something, and she was looking for it in the garden early in the morning. Xiao Hongxi staggered and suddenly looked up with a scream. It is a trap. Officer Xiao Yunduan must have set me up. He set me up. He must have sent someone to give me the letter. Then he tried to steal it away. He set me up. The governor did not even want to look at him anymore. He was thinking that the young master of the Qiao family must have lost his mind. It was no wonder that he was getting worse and worse at the Hanlin Academy. What was the point of being an officer? She could just go home and save herself the embarrassment. Where is the evidence? The letter is the proof, but where is the letter? You can't offer it? What more do you have to say? Are you going to judge the case or am I? You are just a scholar and you don't know what it means to have no evidence? Officer, if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1169. Happy now. Third Old Master and Third Madam of the Qiao family were deeply distressed by the unfortunate turn of events. Despite their son no longer being an officer and his future prospects being ruined, he was still their only child. Madame Lady Qiao was thoroughly disgusted with the mocking and sarcastic remarks made by the first and second sections of the Qiao family. These comments only served to further aggravate Third Old Master and his wife. Unfortunately, their financial situation made it impossible for them to use money to save their son's position. They had no choice but to raise the required funds themselves, which nearly depleted their private savings of 1,000 liang. Third Madam felt heartbroken, wondering why they had ever looked forward to returning to the capital when nothing but misfortune awaited them. Their son's failure to get promoted and earn a decent income not only affected him but also led to their daughter losing her marriage prospects. It felt like a great tragedy and an unforgivable sin. Third Old Master was infuriated, but he found himself unable to disobey the governmental order. So, begrudgingly, he took the 1,000 liang and personally handed it over to Xiao Yunduan, expecting him to have some sense of shame and not demand such a hefty sum. However, to his dismay, Xiao Yunduan accepted the money without uttering a word of thanks. Third Old Master's annoyance was evident as he sneered, "Are you satisfied now, Xiao Yunduan? I misjudged you and I deeply regret it." Despite Third Old Master Qiao's denial of any regret, Xiao Yunduan could discern his true feelings. He must be regretting marrying Qiao Xian to me. Responding to Third Old Master's accusations, Xiao Yunduan maintained his composure and said, "I am satisfied with the compensation. Nobody should ignore being falsely accused. However, I assure you that I have not wronged you, and I don't agree with your accusations." Frustrated, Third Old Master glared at him, attempting to counter his claims, but he found himself unable to articulate a compelling argument. In retrospect, neither Third Old Master nor the Qiao family had supported Xiao Yunduan's endeavors to become an intermediate cultivated talent, provincial champion, or Primus. After Qiao Xian got married, her own family never gave her any benefits. But Xiao Yunduan could not change that just because he did not want to admit it. But he was his father-in-law, his senior. Why was he so unfilial? Third Old Master's annoyance lingered, and he couldn't help but blame his mother and two brothers for breaking off the relationship with Qiao Xian. If they hadn't done that, things might not have turned out this way. However, he knew it was too late to change anything now. Attempting to regain his composure, Third Old Master couldn't resist taunting Xiao Yunduan. "You may feel proud now, but you still have a long way to go. Just wait and see, your ending won't be a pleasant one." Xiao Yunduan raised an eyebrow but chose to ignore the provocation. Having received the 1,000 liang, Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but think of his wife. He knew she would be delighted to be back, as she always enjoyed receiving money from the Qiao family. He regretted letting her go home in the first place. While everyone believed the matter was settled, including the fourth prince, honored Princess Mei, and her son, who decided not to take any immediate action, Xiao Yunduan had other plans. He made the decision to resign. Claiming that he had not anticipated such jealousy arising from Minister Old Yun's guidance, he suspected that an evil scheme was concocted to tarnish his reputation. While his reputation might recover, he couldn't bear the thought of Minister Old Yun being implicated in the process. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1171, Revenge. The fourth prince, seething with anger, crumpled the letter into pieces, cursing the crown prince for his hypocrisy and false kindness. The situation had become unbearable for him. Throughout his life, the crown prince had been accustomed to making concessions, leading everyone to take his compromises for granted. However, this time the crown prince's behavior had crossed a line, and the fourth prince couldn't tolerate it any longer. In response to the crown prince's actions, he decided to counterattack with a stern warning, making it clear that he wouldn't stand such behavior. After all, if the crown prince's actions went unchecked, it would set a dangerous precedent for the future. Amused by the situation, the fourth prince smirked confidently as he held the torn letter in his hands. He knew the crown prince had no evidence left to defend himself. Furthermore, he believed that those who supported the crown prince were easily swayed and could be manipulated by anyone. He was certain that no one would dare speak against him and claim that they were telling the truth. The fourth prince considered the crown prince foolish and knew he wouldn't dare to break ties with him. This realization fueled his desire for revenge, and he decided to take matters into his own hands. As a first step, a mysterious fire broke out at the crown prince's residence on a stormy night. Rumors quickly spread that the heavens were angry at the crown prince, signaling that he was undeserving of his position, and the fire was a divine warning. Following this, several officials who supported the crown prince encountered difficulties, further intensifying the rumors that the crown prince was incompetent and unfit for his role. Seizing the opportunity, the second and third princes also capitalized on the situation and played their parts in causing further turmoil and chaos in the kingdom. That caused a huge commotion in the court. The crown prince was overwrought. He found himself trapped in a challenging situation where he couldn't explain why he deserved the position he held, and he felt powerless to change the perception others had of him. Being passive and doing nothing would lead to accusations of immorality, while taking any active measures would be interpreted as an attempt to buy the favor of the people. The crown prince was caught in a difficult position, and his actions were constantly under scrutiny. Despite these challenges, the crown prince diligently carried out his duties, striving to protect his people and ensuring that no one could find any evidence against him. Additionally, he made efforts to display filial piety towards Emperor Xian, seeking to garner support and trust from the ruler. The fourth prince and others had numerous options at their disposal, but the crown prince had to tread carefully as he was the one facing the most significant obstacles. It felt like he was constantly being held back with limited options available to him. Meanwhile, a man named Xiao Yunduan left the town on a task assigned by the crown prince, and nobody else knew the details of this mission, including Xianxia, who remained unaware of its nature. As part of his mission, Xianxia was to wait in a distant village until he received a letter from his master, instructing him to return to the capital and deliver a message to Madame. Upon hearing this, Qiao Xian was both frightened and enraged by the revelation. Shame on the Qiao family. The fourth prince was also so shameless. On her journey back to the capital, her thoughts were suddenly consumed by the memory of the fourth prince's past malicious and wicked behavior. Fueled by her anger, she decided to take revenge, and this act brought her a sense of satisfaction, easing her emotional turmoil. Had she not retaliated, the continuous torment from the fourth prince's actions would have made her feel even worse, making it difficult for her to bear hearing all the recent events. Besides their despicable behavior, she wondered what else the fourth prince and his allies were capable of doing to harm others. Incredibly, Xiao Yunduan managed to survive the ordeal he had encountered. It seemed like he was fortunate not to have been truly drunk on that fateful night. Otherwise, Qiao Xian pondered whether she could have found it within herself to forgive him, even though she knew it wasn't entirely his fault. Furthermore, Qiao Wei's audacity to show interest in her man was an affront to her. That woman had no genuine care or affection for Xiao Yunduan in the first place. Fifth Madam, it is good that you are back. He will be so happy to know about this. He has been thinking about you all the time. Xianxia felt a bit nervous seeing Xiao Xian's expression. He smiled and said. Xiao Xian threw a look at him and smiled. Did he let you meet him somewhere again? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1173. Different People? The three madams, Xiao Feng and Xiao Li, as well as the two young daughter-in-laws, as well as the well-respected aunts and maids, were all present. That was very scary. Those who did not know what was going on would think that the Qiao family was just some rich and powerful family. But Xiao Xian had revealed their secret a few times, and they knew what was going on here. The moment she walked in, countless hostile eyes fell on her, without showing any fear. Xiao Xian raised her eyebrows, smiled and sat down directly. Gasps arose in the room and some people could not help but look shocked. Some people were even adrift, feeling very uncomfortable and angry. After all, this was not the first time for Xiao Xian to visit the Qiao family. She and Xiao Yunduan had been here before for the spring examination. During that time she behaved like a timid quail, not daring to utter a word behind Xiao Yunduan. However, the Xiao Xian standing before them now was a stark contrast. Dressed in beautiful clothes with a shining pearl hairpin adorning her smooth and neat bun, her exquisite makeup and confident posture elevated her temperament significantly. She appeared to be a completely different person. First Madame Qiao gritted her teeth and felt a pang of bitterness in her heart. It was true what they said about arrogance. How could they accept being bullied by such a despicable person? But what bothered them the most was their powerlessness to do anything about it. Both her husband and she were successful, making it difficult to confront them. Second Mrs. Qiao sneered. Xiao Xian, you don't even greet the senior members of the family, you have no respect for our rules. Xiao Xian glanced at her and replied coldly, rules? How ironic for the Qiao family to talk about rules with me. Rules are meant for those who actually follow them, not you. You, how dare you? Madame Lady Qiao's face twitched as she pointed at Xiao Xian. You bitch, how dare you? Xiao Xian turned to Second Mrs. Qiao. Second Mrs. Qiao, did you see that? Madame Qiao of the Qiao family keeps spouting vulgar words. What rules are those talking about? You, Madame Lady Qiao shivered and panted. First Madame Qiao snapped, Xiao Xian, what on earth are you doing here? You are not welcome at the Qiao family. She felt incredibly embarrassed when she heard Madame Lady Qiao's hurtful words in front of the servants. Xiao Xian retorted, believe me, I don't want to be here either. We have nothing to do with each other, so let's mind our own business, shall we? But the Qiao family keeps causing trouble. Do you think my husband and I are easily bullied just because we have family connections in the capital? First, it was third old Master Qiao who pestered you, and now your young Master Qiao Hongxi is meddling and trying to set up my husband. What exactly is the Qiao family's motive? Besides resorting to despicable and shameless methods, do you even know anything else? The women from the Qiao family were so annoyed that they seemed ready to tear Xiao Xian apart. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1175. Bad Luck? I am where I am today because of my husband's abilities. I have my own abilities too. What does that have to do with the Qiao family? Xiao Xian retorted confidently. Oh, so now you claim to have cut ties with the Qiao family? Well, thank you Madame Lady Qiao for severing that connection. Since breaking away from the Qiao family and distancing myself from its influence, my husband and I have been blessed with good fortune. Perhaps it's because we freed ourselves from the shackles of the Qiao family's destiny. In other words, the Qiao family's misfortune was dragging everyone down. You may be burdened with bad luck because of the Qiao family, but it's a different story for me. By freeing myself from your bad luck, I have changed my own fortune. Madame Lady Qiao grasped Xiao Xian's implications and felt like she was on the verge of collapsing. Absurd. Nonsense. You're just talking rubbish. Madame Lady Qiao vehemently rejected the notion that Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian could have possibly brought prosperity and success to their own lives. She refused to acknowledge their excellence. However, Xiao Xian's clever counterargument seemed to hit a nerve, and her words began to hold more weight in Madame Lady Qiao's mind. After all, stealing luck wasn't an easy feat. Additionally, Xiao Xian being a lowly concubine's daughter in the Qiao family, never had the opportunity to seek the guidance of a Taoist master. As for the Qiao family's mansion in the capital, she had no intention of doing anything about it. On the contrary, since leaving the Qiao family and cutting all ties, she and her husband had achieved prosperity. This, to Qiao Xian, indicated that the problem lay with the Qiao family itself. Madame Lady Qiao's mental composure crumbled under Qiao Xian's relentless arguments, and she couldn't bear it any longer. Qiao Xian sneered, "That's not important. What matters is that I have completely disassociated myself from the Qiao family, and whatever I have now has nothing to do with you or them. I have no interest in the Qiao family's luck whatsoever. I'm here to warn you and let this be the last time. If you ever try to set me up again, don't blame me for being merciless. I'm sure no one from the Qiao family wants to suffer the same fate as Qiao Hongxi, right?" How arrogant. Madame Lady Qiao's expression darkened, and so did the others present. Third Madame became even more furious. "Qiao Xian, you despicable woman, you're threatening us. And if you perceive it as a threat, what will you do? If you think I'm merely joking and that I can't do anything to you, go ahead and test me. But remember, I've already warned you. If you provoke me, it'll be too late for regrets. Don't blame me for showing no mercy." Second Mrs. Qiao's eldest son was unconvinced. "You seem awfully certain that you can do us harm?" The Qiao family is a powerful clan in the intermediate capital with prestigious titles. Your husband's family is nothing in comparison. Qiao Xian gazed at her deeply. "You're welcome to try me." Second Mrs. Qiao struggled to find a response and held her breath in frustration. Internally, she felt vexed. Her son was about to take the imperial examination, and once he achieved the rank of advanced scholar and became an official, Xiao Yunduan would pale in comparison. First Madame Qiao shared a similar sentiment. However, her husband held a lower position as a sixth-ranked officer in the Ministry of Rights, and he couldn't match Xiao Yunduan, the new Primus. Thus, she had no effective rebuttal against Qiao Xian's claims. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1176. Good luck. Thinking about this, she couldn't help but feel annoyed. She even held resentment towards the third branch of the family. What were they thinking? If they didn't want the concubine's daughter to stand out, they should have put more effort into suppressing her and hindering her progress. As the matriarch, she had control over the entire household, including the backyard. Why did Qiao Xian have to strive for the top position? But the Qiao family had been disgraced because of their grudge. It was frustrating that they, innocent bystanders, were forced to show respect to Qiao Xian. Qiao Xian glanced at them and stood up. "Best of luck to all of you." The women from the Qiao family felt their faces burn with humiliation. They needed to preserve their reputation. Otherwise, the household staff would no longer respect them. First Madame Qiao replied coldly, "Same to you. Don't get too arrogant, and remember that there's a long road ahead. The Qiao family will never lack promising descendants." Qiao Xian smiled. "That's not my concern. But if any of you ever try to scheme against my husband and me again, be prepared for the consequences." "You." "Bye." Qiao Xian walked away with Li Xia and Li Qiu, leaving the Qiao family in a state of helplessness. They could only watch her departure without daring to take any action. Xiao Yunduan held the favor of the crown prince, and Qiao Xian's position in the court was uncertain. If she were to get hurt while handling the peonies, the consequences for the Qiao family would be dire. It was a humiliating situation for them. She's so arrogant and wicked. How can someone with such rude manners go far? She manages to offend people the moment she opens her mouth. Just wait and see, someone will surely punish her. Yes, she will learn her lesson. The Qiao family may not be a powerful family, but neither is she. There's no need to engage in an argument with her. First Madame and Second Mrs. Qiao attempted to defend themselves, feeling indignant as they desperately tried to convince themselves of their righteousness. In their minds, what they said appeared to make perfect sense. Madame Lady Qiao's expression softened as she dismissed the maids and aunts and scolded Third Madame Qiao. Third Madame Qiao became so enraged that she almost lashed out at Madame Lady Qiao. After venting her anger, Madame Lady Qiao grew tired and waved her hands to dismiss everyone, leaving only her daughter-in-law behind. Third Mrs. Qiao trembled and struggled to stand, relying on Auntie Ling's help. With reddened eyes, she left Madame Lady Qiao's presence. Once back in her room, she collapsed and lost consciousness. Auntie Ling called for help and assisted her to lie down, but she dared not make any noise, fearing that Madame Lady Qiao might accuse her of fainting to portray herself as the victim of her mean daughter-in-law. Auntie Ling couldn't help but cry, feeling distressed for Madame Qiao. Qiao Xian had gone too far. How could she hate her family? Madame Qiao was her lineal mother, and without her and old master she wouldn't be where she was today. Yet she held on to grudges and overlooked the good, causing Madame Qiao's current state. Upon hearing of Qiao Xian's presence, Qiao Wei was startled and dared not approach her. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1177. Annoyed. She had not anticipated that she would develop a fear of Qiao Xian. Otherwise she would have become even more annoyed. Rushing to her mother's room upon hearing she had returned, she found her lying there unconscious and pale. Filled with panic, she anxiously inquired about what had happened. Auntie Ling understood Qiao Wei's temperament well and knew she couldn't reveal the truth. If Qiao Wei became so infuriated that she confronted Second Miss again, it would put Qiao Wei at a disadvantage and might implicate Old Master and Madame Qiao as well, considering their already precarious situation. With a smile, Auntie Ling cleverly changed the subject, mentioning that Madame Qiao's recovery was still ongoing, and she found it difficult to sit in Madame Lady Qiao's place any longer. Initially silent, Qiao Wei finally spoke in a small voice, her lips trembling. Qiao Xian is involved too, isn't she? Auntie Ling couldn't deny it, as that would sound far too disingenuous. She sighed, her voice tinged with concern. Miss, it's becoming increasingly difficult for us to remain in the mansion. Madam is unwell, and as for young master, you should simply focus on living a good life. There's no need for you to take any action. Madam will surely protect you. Qiao Wei let out a derisive snort, fully understanding Auntie Ling's implications. Auntie Ling was advising her to behave and not stir up trouble. But how could she just accept that? Xiao Yunduan was nothing more than a rustic man from the countryside, while she belonged to a noble family in the capital. How dare he treat her so indifferently? It infuriated her. Auntie, I deeply regret not punishing Qiao Xian severely enough for her to give up on her devious plans. Qiao Wei exclaimed with frustration. Auntie Ling's heart skipped a beat and she remained silent. She knew that Madame had expressed this sentiment numerous times before. At that moment, third Madame Qiao woke up from her slumber. Upon seeing her own daughter, her eyes welled up with tears as she gazed at Qiao Wei, attributing all of this to Xiao Yunduan's connection with Qiao Xian, the one responsible for their current predicament. Mom? Qiao Wei rushed into her arms, weeping uncontrollably. Mom, please just find me a suitable family. Nothing else matters. What's important is that I can confront Qiao Xian, that wretched woman. I'll marry anyone I want. Third Madame's expression shifted. I loathe her. Qiao Wei clenched her teeth while still embracing her mother. In this lifetime she knew she would never find a decent suitor. So, as long as she could make Qiao Xian suffer, she would find some solace in her heart. She realized that if she didn't comply with He Jiqing's demands, He Jiqing would refuse to assist her, leaving her with no external support. Third Mrs. Qiao closed her eyes, and tears streamed down from the corners as both mother and daughter cried with their hands over their heads, seeking solace in each other's embrace. As Qiao Xian departed from the Qiao family, she let out a sigh of relief, feeling a sense of ease now that she was away from the turmoil. If the Qiao family refused to cooperate with her plans, she wouldn't back down so easily. With her extraordinary abilities, she knew she could effortlessly wreak havoc at the Qiao mansion under the cover of night. Deciding not to stay in the capital any longer, Qiao Xian instructed Li Xia and Li Qiu to organize the gifts they had brought home. She then asked Xianxia to deliver them to the young master of Lord Anping Manor. The young master was still a child, and she believed he would appreciate the various gifts. What Qiao Xian was unaware of, though, was that news of her actions, specifically her intrusion into the main house and the gate of the fourth prince's house, had already spread throughout the capital among the noble and high-class circles. Despite it being a side house and not the actual residence of the fourth prince, it held sentimental value for him, representing an extension of his mansion. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1178. Furious, it was a catastrophic event when the gate collapsed, and the entire house sank into the ground. This incident had serious implications as the Crown Prince believed he had been set up by the fourth prince. In order to regain his position, the Crown Prince knew he had to retaliate, but he also understood that his followers might not agree with his approach. Although he was known for being magnanimous, the Crown Prince had his limits, and he couldn't let this betrayal slide. After being humiliated by the fourth prince, he intended to strike back when the opportunity arose. Being the Crown Prince meant he had to uphold certain principles and a sense of responsibility. Without maintaining his integrity and principles, he wouldn't be worthy of the title. After the fourth prince took over, rumors about him spread like wildfire, signifying the concept of heaven's fury. The mysterious collapse of the front door and main room of the courtyard without any warning raised questions about the divine intervention, indicating that the heavens themselves disapproved of the situation. At the East Palace, attempts were made to downplay the incident, attributing it to a simple accident caused by the servants. However, the Crown Prince's supporters demanded a proper investigation before accepting such explanations. The fourth prince, his mother, and their supporters were startled and apprehensive after the investigation results were revealed, possibly realizing the gravity of their actions. They couldn't help but feel a mix of fear and respect for the Crown Prince's determination to seek justice and reclaim his position. Upon hearing about the incident, Emperor Xian grew annoyed and puzzled. He questioned why the heavens seemed to meddle in other people's affairs, first warning the Crown Prince and now turning their attention to fourth sister. In response, Emperor Xian ordered his men to conduct an investigation at both the Crown Prince and fourth prince's mansions. However, this swift action didn't leave enough time for the fourth prince to offer a proper explanation to the public. The Crown Prince, on the other hand, was transparent about the situation. He clarified that the fire was an accidental result of a servant's actions, which coincided with a thunderstorm followed by rain. He suggested that the fourth prince's men might have used this opportune moment to stir up trouble. The collapse at the fourth prince's place remained a mystery, as even the Ministry of Architecture couldn't identify its cause, making the situation seem inexplicable. This unusual circumstance was difficult to comprehend, as it involved forces beyond human control like the heavens. The fourth prince, feeling a mix of anger and fear, became more compliant in light of these events. Even Emperor Xian was taken aback by the situation, wondering if it truly reflected the will of the heavens. The possibility that fourth sister and her allies had overstepped their bounds to the extent that it drew the heavens' displeasure crossed Emperor Xian's mind. He understood the Crown Prince's nature, kind, gentle, generous, and virtuous, but didn't take strict action regarding his children's occasional conflicts, turning a blind eye to such disputes. Deep inside his heart, he couldn't shake off the lingering fear of the Crown Prince. Despite the Crown Prince's filial and virtuous nature, he couldn't entrust the entire governance of the country solely to him. After all, securing his position as the next emperor of the Qin dynasty was of utmost importance. For this reason, he found comfort in the presence of his second, third, and fourth sons. Having them around provided a sense of assurance and stability. At times, he couldn't help but think that the Crown Prince lacked the strength to handle such responsibilities, leading him to occasionally overlook his actions and decisions. Chapter 1179. House and land. As long as the brothers refrained from causing any trouble, he would leave them be. Being still young, there was no urgent need for him to decide whom to entrust the empire to. To his surprise, heavens will seem to favor the Crown Prince. This was a relief, as he didn't have to worry about the Crown Prince's filial piety. Xiao Xian was completely clueless about what was happening. Having asked someone to deliver gifts to Lord Omping Manor, she visited the 20 mu of land in the north of the town the next day. The project had already been completed, and it had cost a considerable amount of money to encircle the entire land with a high brick wall. However, her plan was to cultivate large quantities of potatoes and strawberries, which required proper wrapping and care. Additionally, they would grow various other vegetables, ensuring a steady harvest of fresh produce. Inside the vast walled area, there was a flat patch of green bricks, which served as a place for drying and sorting after the harvest. On both sides of the flat land, a row of houses had been built. On one side stood a cozy house, providing a place for them to take short breaks, while on the other side, a spacious storeroom was conveniently situated. Beneath the storeroom lay a cellar almost as large as the main structure. In front of the house, a pit had been carefully dug, and an assortment of pomegranates, magnolias, sweet osmanthus, and ginkgo trees had been planted. Though their trunks were currently bare, Come spring they would sprout and create a beautiful patch of greenery. The fields had been meticulously divided into neat and organized sections, yet at this time of the year they appeared bare, devoid of any crops. Despite the empty appearance, a sense of achievement washed over Xianxia as she pondered the land she had acquired in the capital. She had a house and land in the capital. Xianxia felt an immense sense of satisfaction. She praised Xianxia and asked him to visit her occasionally. Her next step was to establish a partnership with a reliable fruit store so she could sell her strawberries to others. Finding the right collaborator was not an easy task. The person had to possess good character, be trustworthy and fair, while also avoiding any trace of greed. This required a cautious approach. Confidently, Xianxia agreed that he would make it happen without any issues. The next day, a representative from Lord Anping Manor arrived to deliver presents to Xianxia. It was Auntie Zhu, the trusted aide of the princess consort of the prefecture lord. Xianxia and Auntie Zhu shared a close familiarity. Before Auntie Zhu even had a chance to greet her, Xianxia warmly welcomed her inside and expressed concern about Song's well-being, asking how he liked the gifts. Auntie Zhu happily confirmed that the gifts were well received by Xianxia and the princess consort of the prefecture lord. She also conveyed Madame Xiao's deep longing for Xianxia. Smiling, Xianxia remarked, "He is an innocent soul, and those who know him will treat him with kindness." Auntie Zhu laughed, agreeing wholeheartedly, "Indeed, our young master is truly pure-hearted." After a few moments of casual conversation, Auntie Zhu shared some important news. The prefecture lord and the princess consort of the prefecture lord are planning to spend the new year at the princess consort's home with their son and stay there for a considerable period. They might not return for a year or two or even 3 to 5 years. It's truly a pity. Madame Xiao, you and Officer Xiao must take good care of yourselves. The climate in the capital can be quite unpredictable, so it's crucial to be attentive to your well-being and avoid any harm to your health. Chapter 1180. No more relations. Xianxia was taken aback by Auntie Zhu's implications. Sensing the underlying concern in her words, she responded, "You're right, Auntie. We are in unfamiliar territory, and it's essential to take care of ourselves, especially during the harsh winter ahead. We can't afford to let our guard down or we'll face great difficulties. No one will sympathize with us then and we'll suffer." With a subtle smile, Xianxia used the opportunity to discreetly dismiss Lixia and Liqiu, asking them to attend to the maids who had accompanied Auntie Zhu and offer them tea and snacks. Once they were gone, Xianxia turned to Auntie Zhu with genuine concern, bowing slightly and speaking sincerely, "Auntie, please guide me and offer your wisdom." "No need to bow to me." Auntie Zhu gently helped Xianxia back up, feeling both gratified and saddened. She appreciated how easily she could converse with such an intelligent person like Xianxia, who seemed to grasp everything without the need for explicit explanations. However, her sadness stemmed from the realization that from that moment onward, the young master would no longer visit the Xiao residence to spend time with her and Officer Xiao. The close bond between the two families would also be affected, and they would no longer have the same opportunities to hang out together. Auntie Zhu reminisced about how the young master cherished Madame Xiao and Officer Xiao. Whenever Madame Xiao was absent, the young master would spend hours with Officer Xiao, enjoying their time together. They would sometimes engage in playful activities, and the young master relished those moments. In the eyes of the servants, the young master's happiness was of utmost importance, outweighing all other considerations. But Auntie Zhu carefully chose her words, not wanting to be too explicit. She sighed, wearing a gentle smile. "Officer Xiao and Minister Old Yun are old friends. It's no surprise that he possesses such great talent, earning recognition from the Emperor and Crown Prince. Despite his young age, he has already joined the Ministry of Revenue from the Hanlin Academy, promising a bright future ahead. However, as time goes on, he will be engrossed in official duties, and Madame Xiao will have to attend numerous social gatherings, leaving them with very little free time. Our son enjoys his leisure, and we wouldn't want to impose upon him any further. Besides, the prefecture lord and the princess consort of the prefecture lord would feel remorseful too. Madame Xiao, once I take this step, let's forget about mentioning it again. Serving alongside a ruler is akin to keeping company with a tiger. Officer Xiao's rise to prominence has attracted suspicion and envy from many quarters. Numerous eyes are watching him closely from afar. Both you and Officer Xiao need to be cautious. If someone plots against him, even the crown prince might find it challenging to come to his defense. But the crown prince is kind-hearted, and if you ever encounter any trouble, don't hesitate to ask him for help. He will surely assist you. Xiao Xian couldn't help but feel uneasy. A tinge of sadness and reluctance crept into her heart as she contemplated leaving. While she appreciated the genuine concern expressed, she understood the underlying meaning behind "not to disturb." It wasn't that they didn't want to stay connected, but rather that they couldn't. Prefecture Lord Onping and his wife had only one child, and they were determined to avoid any entanglements in the imperial court. The entire Lord Onping manor, led by Prefecture Lord Onping, distanced themselves from such matters. If Xiao Yunduan had merely been an editor at the Imperial College, the two families could continue their close association. However, things had changed now. Xiao Yunduan was branded as part of the Crown Prince's circle, leading to Lord Onping Manor's reluctance to maintain the same level of interaction. Their decision was driven by a desire to stay away from any potential conflicts. Whether actively or passively involved, they didn't want to risk getting entangled in political affairs. Their ultimate goal was to protect the young heir. By distancing themselves from such matters, they believed the new emperor would take good care of him even after their passing. In the end, everything they did was for the young master's well-being. Thank you for Princess Consort's concern. Chapter 1181. Escort. It's becoming colder in the capital, and the Prefecture Lord and the Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord are concerned about the young master's well-being. It's a wise decision to take him out of the capital for the winter, providing him with a more comfortable life. If fate permits, we may cross paths again. Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord, you need not worry. Your kind-hearted nature ensures that you will always lead a blessed life. Auntie Zhu was delighted with the words she heard and couldn't help but smile warmly. She responded with a gentle expression. Madame Xiao, you are absolutely right. Thank you for your kind words. I believe our young master will be safe and sound. Oh, I should mention that the Prefecture Lord's mansion is still guarded by some elderly servants, although the Prefecture Lord and the Princess Consort have left with the young master. Although we have a limited number of people at the mansion, they are all long-serving loyal servants, some even from the family lineage. From this moment on, if Officer Xiao and Madame Xiao encounter any difficulties, you can send someone to contact our housekeeper. He is well informed about the happenings in the capital and has a wide network. Perhaps he can offer some assistance. Xiao Xian's heart was warmed by the support she received. Thank you for informing me, Auntie. I sincerely appreciate the concern and assistance from the Prefecture Lord and the Princess Consort. Rest assured, if I ever face any trouble, I will not hesitate to seek help from the housekeeper. Auntie Zhu smiled. Don't mention it, Madame Xiao, since the Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord has already said so. Deep inside, Auntie Zhu felt a sigh escape her. Madame Xiao's destiny seemed intertwined with that of the Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord and the young master, yet she had to part ways with them. After a brief exchange of words, Auntie Zhu bid her farewell and departed. Xiao Xian accompanied her to the door, expressing her well wishes for their safety and well-being. She knew she could no longer visit Lord Onping Manor. A sense of sadness and disappointment washed over her. She had looked forward to spending time with the young master once they returned to the capital. The young master was like a child and he was truly endearing. Xiao Xian returned to her room absent-mindedly and unwrapped the presents Auntie Zhu had given her. It was only now that she realized the abundance of gifts bestowed upon her by the Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord. The box contained over 30 exquisite treasures, each one more splendid than the last. Among them were thumb-sized pearls, peepholes, tourmaline, rubies, sapphires, emeralds and white jade. The most eye-catching item was a foot-high statue of a white jade goddess, exquisitely crafted. In addition, there was a pair of beautifully designed green bottles and 2 famous paintings from the previous dynasty. Unlike typical palace gifts, these treasures were meant for display and enjoyment. Each item carried an air of elegance and refinement that would surely be the envy of any visitor to her home. Such precious gifts were usually kept securely, not displayed openly as they could easily be mishandled or misunderstood, leading to unintended disrespect. Jewelry could be worn, especially on important occasions, but it needed to be preserved well and it could not be sold. The Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord of Onping was known for her thoughtfulness and kindness. Xiao Xian felt a pang of sadness when she thought about the couple being forced to leave the capital with their son, all because of the troubles they had unwittingly become entangled in. Her heart sank even further when she considered how her husband had ended up involved with the Crown Prince's gang. Little did she know that the Crown Prince had not ascended to the throne and, as a result, his future looked grim. In other words, he would not have a favorable outcome. As the heir to the throne, he would either meet an untimely demise or be imprisoned. History showed that most of them met their end. After all, no new emperor wanted to keep such hidden dangers around. Chapter 1182. One step at a time. By that time, his followers would not be able to do anything good. However, things had already developed to this point and there was no turning back. Xianxia hesitated. Would she pester Xiao Yunduan to betray the crown prince? The thought troubled her deeply. On the other hand, Xiao Yunduan wasn't willing to accept her, and the consequences of betrayal were uncertain. Who should they turn to after the betrayal? This question weighed heavily on their minds as they knew that betraying the crown prince would offend many, leading to potentially dire consequences. Moreover, bad luck seemed to loom on the horizon, casting a dark shadow over their decisions. Xianxia let out a heavy sigh. Emotionally torn, she decided to take it one step at a time. She acknowledged that the picture she had seen might not reveal the whole truth, leaving room for doubt. In any case, she hoped that things might turn around. Even if something had truly happened, they could plan ahead and stay vigilant. The option of slipping away if they sensed danger provided a glimmer of hope amidst the uncertainty. She was able to protect herself and Xiao Yunduan with her superpower, which brought some comfort amidst the uncertainty. Additionally, Xiao Yunduan wasn't a highly significant figure, and he could simply leave after resigning. The new emperor might not resort to killing them all, but it was crucial for him to assess the situation and determine his options. Xianxia managed to calm herself down as she considered this perspective. 2 days later, the family of 3 from Lord Onping Manor departed from the capital quietly, avoiding unnecessary attention. Xianxia refrained from visiting or bidding them farewell, but she entrusted Xianxia to keep a watchful eye on their departure. The news of their departure saddened her deeply. The uncertainty of when they would meet again weighed heavily on her heart. With nothing else to do, she waited for Xiao Yunduan to return home. As the days grew colder, she found herself longing for his company. Unexpectedly, Xiao Yunduan's governmental officers and women began visiting her almost daily, disrupting the solitude she had expected. Madame Lin and the others from the Hanlin Academy were all present, displaying polite and friendly attitudes towards Xianxia. Some of them seemed cheerful and lively, exuding a passionate aura. Xianxia felt compelled to reciprocate their friendliness and treated them in a similar amiable manner. However, she understood that their visits were primarily for Xiao Yunduan's sake and, more accurately, for the influence of the crown prince behind him. Sucking up to the crown prince was a privilege not granted to everyone, especially for middle-class officials who favored connections with the lower class. For some low-ranking officers, their entire lives in the governmental office might not lead to a meeting with the crown prince. Given the opportunity to associate with Xiao Yunduan, they wouldn't let it slip away. Though they might not immediately gain substantial benefits, they saw potential advantages in the future. As Xianxia observed them, she noticed their enthusiasm, yet she struggled to find someone she genuinely connected with. Her amicable behavior was merely a facade, as she felt the lack of true companionship among them. Madame Su and Madame Lin stood out as the most intriguing cases. They had never treated Xianxia kindly in the past and had been openly hostile towards her. Their reappearance at her door made them appear somewhat embarrassed by their past behavior. Xianxia could sense their jealousy towards her and Xiao Yunduan. True, not many people in this world could compare to First Madame and the princess consort of the prefecture lord. Finally, Xiao Yunduan returned home. In the afternoon, while Xianxia was chit-chatting with Li Qiu and Li Xia on the heated Kong, his surprised voice rang out. "Fifth Master is back. Fifth Madam, Fifth Master is back." She kept telling him about her bottom line so he would be more cautious and cautious. If she had never mentioned this, he would not have paid so much attention to this, and he would have missed the secret. Something like this was amiss once, it might happen twice or 3 times. More importantly, Xianxia would not accept any amiss at all. She was going to throw up if she lost the man she had taken a fancy to. Chapter 1184. We are family. If you were interested in my little sister, this journey wouldn't be so boring, Iron Tower thought. According to his initial plan, His sister should have become Taoist couples with Han Feiyu and given birth to a child during this long journey. If everything went well, his little nephew should be at the foundation establishment stage now, capable of flying freely in the sky. Unfortunately, things didn't go well. Thinking about this, Iron Tower sighed deeply. Eldest brother, you're sighing while we're eating. What's up? Iron Blue approached with a plate of crystal long meat and asked. It's nothing. Just feel that the three of us seem to lack something, feeling a bit lonely, Iron Tower hinted evasively. Iron Blue blushed and returned to cooking following the cookbook. Han Feiyu, on the other hand, casually continued his meal. Had grown immune to such comments after hearing them frequently. Brother Iron, the journey back to my sect is long. Are you too sure you still want to accompany me? It's been almost 60 years now, Han Feiyu stated, aware that the journey back to the sect might take centuries. He didn't want to involve the siblings. What are you talking about? Are you getting tired of us? Iron Tower opened his eyes wide, showing a hint of anger in his voice. Of course not. I was just thinking that since we've already received the signal from Ice Realm Immortal City, it won't be long before we can teleport there. I heard there are several esteemed ones guarding that place. It won't be as easy to breach like Ice Abyss Immortal City. You two could live a peaceful life there, Han Feiyu hurriedly added. He had the siblings' best interests at heart. He had even secretly prepared farewell gifts to ensure the siblings could practice their cultivation without worry. A large hand heavily slapped Han Feiyu on the shoulder. Brother Su, do you acknowledge me as your elder brother? Iron Tower asked seriously. Of course, we have helped each other out on this journey. You've saved my life. I absolutely will consider you as my elder brother, Han Feiyu solemnly replied. Iron Blue and I have no relatives left in the extreme north territory. From now on, we're a family. Wherever you go, we go. No matter how difficult or far it is, even if it's the end of the earth, we will follow you. Iron Tower asserted. My journey home might take 200 years, maybe 300 years. Even if it takes 1,000 years or 2,000 years, we siblings will still follow you. Whenever you find us annoying, just let us know and my sister and I will leave, Iron Tower interjected, interrupting Han Feiyu. He knew his sister's personality. Once she set her heart on someone, she wouldn't give up. As the elder brother, it was only right to support her. According to Iron Tower's thinking, with time, affinity would grow. If there was no affection, it indicated that they had not spent enough time together. Eldest brother, thank you for following me, Han Feiyu expressed his gratitude. The journey was indeed long and he did need companionship. It says in the sect's manual, if embarking on a long journey, forming a team is the best choice. The prerequisite is that those teaming up with you are willing to share joy and sorrow. He had contemplated staying in Immortal City to cultivate until his level increased before returning to the sect. However, recent events made him realize that without a powerful backing, nowhere was safe. Therefore, he particularly missed the days back in his sect, except for the occasional fear that his Jade Gourd's extraordinary fortune would be discovered by others. Those were the most enjoyable and comfortable days had ever had. What are you talking about? We are family, Iron Tower responded with a hearty laugh. At this moment, Iron Blue brought out another dish, stir-fried spiritual lettuce. This is the last dish. What were you guys chatting about just now? You seemed really happy, asked Iron Blue. Brother Han was sharing some of his fun stories from his time at the sect, Iron Tower replied with a smile. Brother Su, can you tell me about it? I rarely hear you talk about the old times in the sect. Iron Blue curiously said she wanted to know the stories of her beloved person in the past. In the sect, I have a good brother named Sword Wuji. We used to be, having nothing to do. Han Feiyu began to talk about the amusing incidents in the sect in the past. At the Hidden Spirit sect, Su Fan let his temporary avatar replace him in refining the railgun, and his real body began to slack off. He found that the temporary avatar was becoming more and more useful, so he took the time of artifact refining to strengthen the avatar divine ability. Now when he sends out temporary avatars, he can slack off for half a month. By the sky blue spirit liquid lake, Su Fan was having a heart-to-heart talk with a dragon egg. Don't be comparing the hardness of your eggshell with other dragon eggs. What if you break it? Su Fan patiently instructed the dragon egg who had made an oath with him. This dragon egg, standing in front of Su Fan, stubbornly hopped twice, crushing its hard stone base to make a small pit, proving its toughness. Then what do you do if you accidentally break another dragon egg? Su Fan said again. At this moment, the dragon egg bounced and dove right into the sky blue spirit liquid lake. Then another green-skinned dragon egg, enjoying its time in the spirit liquid lake, was knocked into the air and fell heavily in front of Su Fan. It enlarged the small pit made earlier one more time. Is this the result of your teaching? Why are you so argumentative? Su Fan frowned and looked at the Tianji turtle. The Tianji turtle looked up at Su Fan. How is this a good thing? Just causing me trouble, not at all behaved like a good baby. Su Fan scolded. Then the Tianji turtle looked at Su Fan like he was an idiot. Why would you treat a spiritual beast with a true dragon lineage like a good baby? The call of Tianji turtle contained a bit of perplexity. Although it didn't like moving, it understood that the more an infant spiritual beast moved around, the better it was for them. What am I even trying to compete with you about? Su Fan laughed at his own behavior. I will have someone specially supervise this dragon egg. You just come to tell stories. Su Fan said. He felt that if this Tianji turtle kept training these eggs, they would be ruined. I don't even want to be in charge, I can rest more in the future. The Tianji turtle said lazily and began to walk towards the spirit liquid lake. Hu Tao, assign a puppet to specifically educate these dragon eggs for their all-round development in morality, intelligence, physical fitness, aesthetics, and labor skills. Su Fan instructed. Yes, master. Hu Tao's voice responded. Looking at the 6 dragon eggs playing in the spirit liquid lake, Su Fan gently beckoned, and the 6 dragon eggs were mysteriously pulled by a force and all came in front of him. Alright, today I'll tell you a story, Su Fan spoke kindly and amiably. The 6 dragon eggs jumped in succession to express their satisfaction. Finally, Su Fan began to educate them by telling stories about how to be a good child and how to be able to reassure their parents. After Su Fan's series of efforts, these 6 dragon eggs finally understood the difference between good and bad children, then they began to happily be the bad kids again. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1185, A Plan? The 4th prince was very aggressive, and Empress Qi, the 3rd prince, the niece of the late Empress Dowager, Princess Concubine Virtue, and her 2nd prince were all up to something. But the 2 of them did not make any big moves but kept making a cheap shot, a cheap trick. They were all hoping that the 4th prince and the crown prince would kill each other first. The emperor was still in good health, and the crown prince might have to live in fear for many more years. He was not sure if he could make it. Xiao Yunduan had not thought much about this. He could just leave with his daughter-in-law, but that was not going to happen now. He had let down his daughter-in-law. He was going to make it up to her. On the surface, Xiao Yunduan was helping the crown prince inspect the granaries in Hebei, but in fact he was heading towards the crown prince's mansion in Miyun County to deal with the reservoir. The land in Miyun County had been very large these years, and the irrigation could not keep up. The crown prince had a field there that covered 500 hectares. A while ago, the manager of the field reported to the East Palace, saying that he wanted to repair the canal before the new year, in case it affected next year's plowing. That was a very natural thing, and the East Palace would not turn that down. Coincidentally, when Xiao Yunduan was out in the capital, the crown prince asked him to check on the progress of the canal repair. 500 hectares of fields were not a small amount, and the crown prince was not going to overlook that. But Xiao Yunduan noticed something wrong. The imperial plantation was fine, and the canals could be repaired as well. The problem was a dam upstream. Xiao Yunduan had been here with Xiao Xian before, and Xiao Xian wanted to climb mountains and find wild fruits and mushrooms, so he agreed. Xiao Yunduan clearly remembered that 2 months ago, when he and his wife came to climb mountains and see if there were any wild things, the dam did not exist. How long had it been? The dam had already blocked the water so high and wide. At this moment, when the crown prince's mansion was repairing the canal, Xiao Yunduan subconsciously connected the dam. For some reason he felt that something was wrong. He asked his men to get a map of the local area and read it with the housekeeper at the abbey. They were both startled. It would be fine if the dam was fine, but if it collapsed, not only would the canal they were repairing be affected, but the village in the low-lying area would be affected as well. If they did not escape in time, half of the village would be fed to the fish and many people would die. The housekeeper frowned. I didn't notice that. When did someone block such a dam in the mountains? That doesn't seem right. What are they trying to do? Xiao Yunduan said, the crown prince is at the center of attention right now and we need to be careful. We can't keep the dam. What if the whole thing was made clear? The canal was built at the crown prince's imperial plantation, and if the dam collapsed at this moment and caused the flood to hit the village, causing death and injury, the two incidents would be easily connected. It might have been caused by the Crown Prince's canal repair. They were all water and they could talk together. Most importantly, the dam was so strange that the housekeeper had no idea what was going on. Normally, they should have informed the imperial plantation when the dam was only a few meters away from the Crown Prince's imperial plantation. But that was not the case. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 462, 450 Righteous Backstab _1 Mel City was beyond salvation. Neither the quality nor the quantity of the defenders could match the combined forces of the monsters and the Nord people. Camilla knew this from the beginning, but he didn't expect Mel City to fall so quickly. At the same time, he never thought that he would be on the verge of death at the hands of a goblin due to his own arrogance. At this moment, Duke Carmela was covering the wound on his waist, gasping heavily. At first he didn't take this wound seriously. Even though he was poisoned, after all, he was a legendary powerhouse and ordinary toxins usually had little effect on him. But soon he noticed something. The wound on his waist was just a little more severe than a superficial injury. But now, that peculiar tingling sensation had already begun to spread throughout his body. The potency and speed of this toxin were indeed astonishing, which reminded Carmela of the name that Gaz had mentioned earlier. Silver Dragon Lord. He had heard of this title. If he remembered correctly, it should refer to a silver dragon that had recently gained fame residing in Nolan Forest. But he had never heard that this silver dragon was also a terrifying venomous dragon. Gaz the Goblin watched the events unfolding on the city walls and below with great interest. Then he turned to Camilla and said thoughtfully, "I believe you understand by now that you have no chance of victory. Perhaps I should be more specific. This not only refers to this small border city but also the entire Felcourt Empire. You seem to have some talent. The great Silver Dragon Lord is very merciful. As long as you offer your complete loyalty to him, I believe you will have a place in the land of the Soaring Dragon." Ha! A goblin trying to persuade him to surrender? Camilla laughed mockingly, but this time he was mocking himself. Want my loyalty? Camilla held his sword and sneered, "It's simple. Just exchange it for the ugly head of that silver dragon." You're asking for death. Gaz's face turned furious. Camilla's words meant that he had severed his own path of retreat. Now Gaz wouldn't give Camilla any chance. Even though he was a legendary swordsman with his current condition, Camilla couldn't possibly be Gaz's opponent. Understanding this deeply, Gaz crouched slightly, and the pair of dragon wings on his back began to flap rapidly. With a sudden burst of energy, he stomped the hard city wall bricks into a deep pit, while Gaz himself charged at Camilla like lightning with his long blade in hand. Gaz didn't hold back this time. This attack aimed directly at Camilla's vital points. However, to Gaz's surprise, Camilla, who looked like he was on his last legs, had suddenly burst forth with astounding strength. Camilla had accurately deflected the strike, which should have been decisive. Chapter 1187. Solution? The housekeeper cast a worried look at the Crown Prince, but he quickly suppressed his emotions. He felt concerned about Xiao Yunduan's young age, fearing he might jeopardize the plan. The stakes were high. If something went wrong, hundreds of lives would be lost. The fourth prince's reputation for ruthlessness didn't help matters. The housekeeper was convinced that the fourth prince was behind the potential disaster. However, the Crown Prince couldn't entrust this task to someone else for fear of the news leaking out. Xiao Yunduan had proven to be the most reliable among them. If Xiao Yunduan succeeded, he would earn the admiration and respect of his colleagues and friends, leading to a significant promotion. The housekeeper doubted the Grand Tutor's judgment and believed that Xiao Yunduan needed to be thoroughly understood. Xiao Yunduan nodded solemnly, fully understanding the gravity of the situation. From the moment the Crown Prince entrusted the men to Xiao Yunduan, the plan had been set in motion discreetly. The dam project, which could cause a disastrous flood in the village, was an extensive endeavor. Removing this hidden threat without arousing suspicion from the other party was no easy feat. Releasing the flood slowly was not an option, as it would undoubtedly lead to leaks. The fourth prince's influence was formidable, and if he got wind of the Crown Prince's knowledge about the plan, he would stop at nothing to ensure its success, possibly even resorting to aggressive actions. The Crown Prince knew that his reputation was merely the tip of the iceberg, and he couldn't afford any more trouble. It was crucial to handle the situation meticulously. In light of the circumstances, they needed to find a way to protect the civilians from the flood's impact, ensuring no harm would come to them. Xiao Yunduan took charge of the preparations, working tirelessly to avoid any disruptions. They even detained a few individuals to prevent any potential leaks, displaying utmost vigilance. After 2 days and nights of hard work, the water level finally receded, bringing relief to everyone involved. At this critical juncture, Xiao Yunduan made the decision to release some water in front of the dam. With the county magistrate of Miun County leaning towards the fourth prince, they suspected he might have noticed something. Therefore they chose not to keep the secret hidden any longer, understanding that the more water they released, the safer they would be. Time was of the essence. The guards were stationed strategically, leaving no room for interference. With the situation under control, the Crown Prince's men apprehended the county magistrate of Miun County. The magnitude of such a significant project demanded diligence, and his ignorance of the situation was deemed a dereliction of duty. But he was not sure if that was true. Maybe he was the one who covered up for the fourth prince. County magistrate of Miun County was prepared to lose his position. He left the capital without defending himself and soon disappeared. Xiao Yunduan made the arrangements and ordered his men to divert the river before heading back to the capital. The fourth prince was so annoyed. The dam could not be kept secret for too long. He had planned to give the Crown Prince a huge present before the new year, and coincidentally, there was a fire at the Crown Prince's mansion on the night of lightning, which could be used to seize on and make an issue of something. If these two things happened one after another, it would be a huge blow to the Crown Prince's reputation. He had never liked this man who pretended to be virtuous. He had always wanted to ruin his reputation. This was definitely a great opportunity. But before he could do anything, the dam that he had worked so hard to build was broken. All of their previous plans were ruined. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 382 Returning to Blue Star _1 Just as Suyu was dealing with Secretary Hutton, Morning Star unleashed a starry breath that squarely blasted into the crowd of reporters below the podium. These screw journalists, mostly with only second or third level power, were unable to resist and disintegrated immediately in the blast. Suyu gave Morning Star an appreciative look and then turned his attention to Secretary of State Les, intending to take advantage of the situation to get rid of him as well. Just then, a colossal golden eye sprang open atop the tallest skyscraper in Trina known as the Trina skyscraper. Nemesis danger. Without a second thought, Morningstar utilized a teleportation technique called Flicker, putting himself directly in line with Suyu and the towering skyscraper. Buzz. The Trina skyscraper launched a green disintegration beam that directly hit Morningstar, turning his massive dragon form into a scatter of particles. After killing Morningstar, the destructive beam carried on to Suyu behind, causing devastating damage. He felt his skin and body to the right side start to disintegrate, completely losing sensation. Suyu didn't dare to linger and hurriedly activated the green pendant on his chest. Before him a gate to the stars gaped open. He leapt, vanishing into the sky. Beep boop after Suyu left, alarm sirens blared throughout Trina, the city lighting up with the flashing red light of the warning system. The surviving Secretary of State Les sat amidst a pool of blood and unrecognizable debris, staring blankly at the devastation before him. The Chairman Cass and Vice Chairman Gordon had suffered horrific deaths, and the reporters below the stage had been reduced to nothingness with a single breath of Morning Star. Apart from Les himself, there were almost no other survivors. Moreover, the assailant was the very elusive Number 1 they had been discussing capturing the previous night. How did Number 1's strength suddenly become so formidable? Even a 7th grade legendary powerhouse shouldn't have been able to kill the chairman without breaking a sweat, right? And the timing that Number 1 chose was too perfect. It was the moment their high-level powerhouses had left, and their internal defense was at its weakest. The Lewin Keat Alliance. No, the whole of Screw Star may be on the verge of a shakeup. Meanwhile, underneath the villa of Dana in the imperial capital of Wuxia Nation, Blue Star. Boom. Suyu hit the ground hard. His blood spurted out thickly, splattering across half of the underground chamber, causing him to pass out. Thank goodness one of them finally made it back. Shui Wenli, on duty outside the basement, breathed a sigh of relief. She had been waiting here for 3 days for the return of the 3 heroes to the Blue Star. However, nearly 2.5 days had passed since the space tunnel opened, and with less than half a day left to closure, no one had returned, sinking her heart. Had all 3 of them sacrificed themselves at Screw Star? Now that she heard a thud from the basement, her mood finally lightened up. Someone returning was always good news. Shui Wenli walked towards the basement window to peek inside. The sight inside petrified her. Blood. It was all blood. The person lying unconscious on the floor was Suyu. His right side and back were a bloody mess, unrecognizable from their original form. Suyu's blood was flowing non-stop, forming a small stream on the floor of the basement, eventually morphing into a pond. The sight frightened Shui Wenli. Without wasting time, she hurriedly ran upstairs in her high heels towards Donna's bedroom. A dozen or so minutes later, a sleepy Donna begrudgingly descended the stairs into the basement. "Hardly get a good night's sleep, and I was just falling asleep when you woke me up," Donna grumbled as she walked. "I'm sorry, Miss Donna." Shui Wenli quickly responded with a smile. "Suyu is severely injured. I was afraid his life would be in danger if you were too late." "Fine, I won't hold it against you for the sake of my adorable junior," Donna waved meaninglessly. By this time, both of them had arrived at the entrance of the basement. Donna looked at Shui Wenli. "Stay at the door and don't move or step inside. The spilled magical energy might kill you directly. Do you understand?" "Understood," Shui Wenli replied promptly. Being an ordinary human, she wouldn't dare risk herself. But she didn't waste time. She promptly sent a message to notify Zhong Feng and Commissioner Zhang to rush over. "Okay," Donna nodded and opened the door to enter the basement. Upon entering, Donna glanced at Suyu, almost a pile of mush on the ground, completely expressionless. "Tisk, tisk, injured like this by a minor level 1 civilization. It seems that this junior fellow is not very skilled." Donna shook her head, knelt down and unbuttoned Suyu's clothes to examine his injuries. However, after examining Suyu's wounds with her mind, her expression changed to surprise. "Disintegration beam? It's a wound caused by the disintegration beam? It seems that the junior has done a remarkable thing." Disintegration beam originates from the divine technique, Grand Disintegration, a superpower that only planet-level beings can control. Over 200 years ago, when the Holy Silver Federation first discovered Screw Star, the disintegration beam, as part of a technological aid project, was gifted by the Holy Silver Federation to the people of the Screw Star, making it one of their most important technologies. It was surprising that Suyu was hurt by this. "Feta 6 Akahachi," Donna whispered. A divine light beam fell from the sky directly onto her. Donna extended an arm, and a substantial divine power started to gather in her palm. Chapter 1189, Snow. In the winter, staying warm was of paramount importance. Therefore she purchased a plethora of thick clothes, shoes, socks, quilts, firewood, charcoal and other necessities, ensuring her stockpile was well supplied. As the 12th lunar month approached, the capital brimmed with increasing festivity for the upcoming New Year celebrations. Being newcomers from the countryside, both Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were enthralled by the city's unique charm and financial prosperity. Money was not an issue, and they indulged in buying various New Year goods, unintentionally amassing a considerable collection. Meanwhile, Lixia and Lichio busied themselves by making numerous meatballs and marinating some smoked meat for the festivities. As evening approached, dark clouds gathered ominously, hinting at an impending heavy snowfall. Seasoned elders, well-versed in such signs, predicted the snowstorm. Xiao Xian, with her extraordinary senses, could already detect the imminent snow in the air. The flakes were ready to descend. True to their predictions, as the evening mist descended and the sky turned misty, the snowflakes silently began their descent, gently swirling in the air. Soon they started to accumulate on the ground. By nightfall, a thick layer of snow covered the landscape. The courtyard's flowers and trees were cloaked in a white blanket, displaying soft undulating contours. The following morning, the window revealed a bright and clear view. Stepping outside, the crisp air greeted them, invigorating their senses. Though it was chilly, the sky seemed to exude a unique radiance, illuminated by the fresh snow. The air, now sanctified by the snowfall, brought an indescribable sense of novelty and wonder, even to the otherwise ordinary surroundings. The scenery was breathtaking, with the snow having ceased and the bright sun casting a crystal-clear, snow-white glow over everything. Outside the yard, the laughter of children from different families in the alley echoed joyously, reveling in the snowy fun. On their day off, Xiao Yunduan was at home, and Xianxia entered the room with a smile. What a beautiful day. Let's venture outside of town and enjoy the snow. If we're lucky, we might even catch some wild roosters and rabbits. It's just after a heavy snowfall, and the wild roosters and rabbits will be less agile, getting stuck in the snow. They'll move slower due to the cold, making them easier to catch. Let's go and try our luck. Xiaoxian's eyes sparkled with excitement and anticipation. Xiao Yunduan couldn't resist her enthusiasm and agreed, despite wanting to stay home with his wife in this weather to enjoy a nice meal together. Alright, let's prepare and head out. The earlier we leave, the sooner we can return. Winter days grow dark early and it gets much colder after noon. Okay. Xianxia went to rent a wagon, and Lixiao and Liqiu had already prepared breakfast and readied the essentials, including fur cloaks, moccasins, a hand-burning stove, charcoal basin, and everything needed to stay warm. They quickly finished breakfast and set off. Lixiao and Liqiu stayed back to take care of the house, while Xianxia drove the wagon with the couple on board. Before leaving, Xiaoxian asked Liqiu and Lixiao to prepare the pot and various dishes for a hot pot dinner. During the 12th lunar month, various types of meat were available, with fat mutton and beef cut into thin slices, ideal for the hot pot. The couple happily nodded in agreement. Apart from beef and mutton, they also had ribs, fish balls, meatballs, vegetarian balls, pig's blood, vermicelli, wintermelon slices, lotus root slices, taro slices, cabbage, tofu, and yuba. They had also made some egg dumplings and bought haggis. Additionally, they had fresh pea sprouts and soybean sprouts at home. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1190, Her Superpower? The pot's bottom was divided into a two-taste duck pot, with one side spicy and the other mild. The non-spicy side contained wild mushrooms, half a chicken, half a tube of bones, and a dash of wolfberry and 2 dates. The resulting thick and milky white soup served as the delectable base for the hot pot. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan set off together, with Xianxia having rented the finest wagon for them. The wagon was well insulated and covered with a thick carpet. In one corner, a stove with a cover was cleverly fixed, emanating a warm glow from the burning red coals. Their destination was Pinggu, an area with advanced mountains and dense forests, offering picturesque scenery and abundant prey. The official road was bustling with activity during this time of the year. Moreover, the suburban road, being under supervision, remained easily passable despite the snowfall. The wagon was nimble and the horse swift, swiftly carrying them away from the capital. Gradually, the number of pedestrians decreased, and they found themselves surrounded by snow-white mountains and verdant trees, creating a beautiful and serene landscape. Xiao Xian frequently lifted the curtain to admire the scenery outside, lavishing praise on the breathtaking sights. Xiao Yunduan had never witnessed such a breathtaking scene before, leaving him utterly fascinated by it. After approximately half an hour, the couple asked Xianxia to stop the wagon, and they disembarked to venture into the nearby mountains, leaving him behind to tend to the coals and keep warm inside. Xianxia didn't dare to follow and simply nodded with a smile as he watched them go before retreating into the cozy wagon. Indeed, the wagon provided ample warmth. Even with a hand stove in his arms and donning fur clothing and a hat, he still felt a slight chill after the prolonged journey in the snow. Resting in the wagon was a welcome respite. With no other pedestrians in the mountains during such weather, the couple aided each other as they trekked onward. Xiao Xian's excitement and delight rendered her impervious to the cold, thoroughly enjoying the enchanting scenery up close. Amid the heavy snowfall, the world transformed into a dreamlike and exquisite spectacle. So enamored with the picturesque views, they nearly reached the middle of the mountain. Xiao Xian's deerskin boots and cloak proved indispensable in tolerating the cold. Using her superpower, Xiao Xian searched for any wild roosters or rabbits shivering in the cold. Catching them amidst the snow was a straightforward task. Guided by her abilities, they successfully captured 3 wild rabbits and 5 wild roosters, a bountiful harvest. Fantastic. Tonight we'll have an abundant feast. Xiao Xian's face lit up with a bright smile as she held the wild rooster in her hands. Xiao Yunduan was genuinely surprised and he couldn't help but smile too. Those roosters and rabbits are truly clueless. How did they end up like this? Xiao Xian playfully blinked and replied with a grin, "Indeed, we got lucky." However, she knew that it wasn't merely luck at play. Her superpower was more than just a display. If the roosters and rabbits had tried to escape, she could have easily used her abilities to ensnare them with long vines or grass leaves, making escape impossible. Of course, they had no choice but to wait obediently. The heavy snowfall provided her with the perfect opportunity to use her powers. Under normal circumstances, she wouldn't dare to employ such tactics on regular roosters and rabbits, as they wouldn't be caught in the vines and grass for no reason. So, it was her powers that led her to discover them in the first place. They were thrilled about the bountiful catch. Back when she was with them, wild animals were abundant, and they were accustomed to eating such delicacies. But now, such opportunities were rare and treasured. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible.